Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Ali and today I am diving so deep into these songs on The Life of a Showgirl by Taylor Swift. I'm truly so excited to finally be sitting down and making this video. There is nothing I love more in this world than picking apart and laying out for you every single lyric, reference, Easter egg, and callback that exists in a song. So my hope here today is not to convince you to like or not like a song, but rather just to provide some necessary context that will help you understand these songs a bit better. If you're new here, this is something that I have done for many of Taylor's previous albums, and I have already broken down the first 6 songs on this album. So Father Figure got its own video because I just had way too much to say about that one, apparently.
My dick is bigger than it.
And the remaining 5 are here in part 1. So those will be linked below if you would like to see it. I recommend going in order, but if you're here, you are welcome to stay. Also, I do just want to give you a look at the corset I'm wearing today because you can't really see it. I just feel like it always needs to be appreciated when I wear this. Beneath that, I'm obviously wearing pajama pants. Trust me when I say I do not get dressed up for just anyone, so this is a sign of my love and respect for you all. Also, if you want to see my personal taste on The Life of a Showgirl, which songs I loved, which songs I did not, I also did a tier ranking video about this. Finally, this goes without saying, but we are discussing some somewhat contentious, controversial songs today. I just wanted to say thank you all in advance for being so normal and kind in the comments. I genuinely feel very, very grateful that we have this space here to discuss music and pop culture together in a way that is respectful to everyone involved. That said, I would also feel very grateful if you would give the video a like. This one is going to be a real beast to edit together, and that helps so much. Also, subscribe if you're new here. I would love to have you join us. And if you're not new, welcome back. I love you the most. Thank you all so much for your patience in me uploading this second half of the album. As you probably know, YouTube has been a little tricky when it comes to copyright and just really cracking down quite hard on YouTubers using literally any content. And if you know me, you know I love to insert a clip or a song. So I've just been trying to navigate that. But in the meantime, if you ever are wanting more content from me, I do have a Patreon where I have full creative freedom, which is so very nice. I reacted to the Eras to a docu-series, Teen Wolf, Hilary Duff, Maisie Peters, a bunch of different music, and I just started watching Buffy, so my reaction to the pilot is up over there. I also challenged myself to see how many Taylor Swift songs I know, which was very stressful, slightly embarrassing, but a lot of fun. So if somehow you are not entirely sick of me from YouTube alone, you can always get more over there. Shout out to all of my fellow nostalgic little bitches who have joined me over there. I love that community so much. The group chat is my favorite thing, and you guys are the reason that I can still make videos here on YouTube as well. So thank you. On that note, I think we can finally start talking about the album. So today we are beginning with the song Actually Romantic, which I'm really excited to dive into because I don't know if I've seen a song more widely misunderstood.
Oh, that sounded really bratty!
So today I can't wait to explain how this song is actually But Daddy I Love Him 2.0, which if you didn't know is huge praise from me. Actually Romantic is also kind of an evolved version or older sister of Shake It Off. Now, when people are bullying you, talking shit behind your back, wishing bad things upon you, you no longer need to find it within you to shake it off, forgive, we forget, but we never let it go.
Haters gone hate, shake it off, Taylor Swift always right.
We can now actually take it for the compliment that it really is. You're talking about me, which means you're thinking about me, which means you care. And that's actually a little bit romantic. In fact, we can even look all the way back to the song Mean on Speak Now. No longer is Taylor hurt and offended by someone speaking badly, criticizing, bitching about her behind her back, saying negative things about her. Now she's giving a little wink to it, and you know, in this stage of womanhood, she's saying it's actually a little bit sexy. Last night I had the absolute honor and privilege of seeing Chapel Roan live. So side note, if you see any glitter on me, it is remnants from my outfit from last night that didn't scrub off in the shower. But during my Kink is Karma, I had this light bulb moment of realizing what a sister song that also is to Actually Romantic.
People say I'm jealous, but my kink is watching you.
There's this person that you are maybe at odds with in life, and Chapel turned it into this feeling of sexual excitement, I guess. Having people that you probably don't really think about, but you continually find out are mentioning you and speaking bad about you behind your back is something that probably everyone can relate to at one point in their lives. Granted, for us, it is on a much, much smaller scale than Taylor. But again, I just think it's a great mindset to adopt.
The things that they're going through are parallel to what I go through, just on a different scale. When someone spreads a rumor that isn't true about a girl I'm talking to on Instagram, it's the same feeling of humiliation that I get when I'm checking out of the grocery store and I see something untrue written about me on a magazine.
I know something that a lot of people said in response to this album coming out was that not enough of the songs fit the theme of the life of a showgirl. In part one, obviously I talked at length about how songs like Father Figure and Ruin the Friendship are absolutely standouts above the rest on that theme, but Actually Romantic, as well as songs we will discuss later in this video, absolutely nails the brief too.
How do you have the guts to continue to share what's happening in your personal life and share it with all of us to enjoy?
Well, the stakes are higher for sure, because as your career goes like this, the magnifying glass goes like that, and everybody's like, oh, what are you doing today? And like come up with different ways that it could be awful what you're doing right now.
Writing songs helps me cope with the fact that fame is weird, and it helps me stay normal by verbalizing the fact that even though fame is weird, I still feel things the same way I always have, which makes you feel more normal. You have to be in touch with the fact that the media kind of fictionalizes things, and you just have to be happy in your own life and know your version of events, which is the only thing that matters anyway.
There's always some element of drama that someone is forcing into my consciousness, which is fun to write about too.
This is a song about having obsessive haters being spoken about non-stop, something that again is relatable to us on a tiny level, but that is the definition of the life of a showgirl. And what I love is that this is a classic Taylor format where she takes a situation she's in and, like blank space, is able to poke fun at it. I think the thing that is most refreshing to me about this song is that unlike many celebrity feuds of the past, especially girl on girl feuds, this one has absolutely nothing to do with a man.
Democrats have Republicans, Darth Vader has Luke Skywalker, and Lindsay Lohan has Hillary Duff.
It is just good old fashioned, we don't get along, and that's fine. So I'm going to dive into the lyrics, and as we go I will provide some of the necessary references and context to understand what she is alluding to. So we open with, I heard you call me boring Barbie when the coke's got you brave.
Hey Barbie!
The first question I want to ask is, have we ever heard someone call Taylor that in a song or otherwise? The answer, obviously, is no. So this is our very first context clue that we are given, that this is not a response song. This is not, oh, I listened to your song and I'm responding to directly what was said there. This already lets us know right off the bat that there is a rich history here with Taylor and another person that we know nothing about. Before this song came out, I didn't know that that had been said about her, at least not by this person. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people didn't really pick up on that or misunderstood that part of the song, because I've seen a lot of people describe this as a response song, which in fact it is not. I do believe there is one line, at least in this song, that kind of calls back to that, but we'll get there. Side note, a quick appreciation for the instruments on this song. I know I already went to town about it on my ranking, but like this kind of sound from Taylor is obviously everything to me. And I almost wish she'd gone a little bit harder, but TS13, TS14, my future rock and country babies, I'm ready for you. So I think that opening line is particularly genius, because boring Barbie paints such a vivid picture of this world that we are looking into here. Boring is obviously not a very original insult when it comes to Taylor. It's something she has alluded to many times in her own song.
You've got edge, she never did.
Even on the Tortured Poets department, where you said normal girls were boring, but you were gone by the morning, we can infer from that that this lover also decided she was boring. But more specific than that, when you look at an actual Barbie that she's being compared to, right? Barbie is a shiny, multi-hyphenate, hardworking, stereotypically beautiful commercial success. Taylor kind of is that. What interests me the most is their competitor, Brat dolls, which to me are definitely edgier, but not quite as popular or commercially successful. They definitely gave cool girl energy, unlike Barbie, who was more the like warm, approachable type. I mean, it's all in the name. The definition of brat is to be spoiled or badly behaved.
Your lyrics at times can be brash and bratty.
Yeah.
You don't seem that way.
Well, you haven't seen me on stage yet.
I don't wanna go to school, I just wanna break the rules. I'm Charlie XCX, sucker!
And I feel like that's one of those classic conversations of like, you're either a Bratz doll or a Barbie doll. And I think that is kind of the key element here, is that both will always have fans. And I'm sure there is crossover as well. A quick shout out to anyone who falls on both sides of this spectrum or feud, I guess we're talking about. I can only imagine that this was a difficult time for you. And on the topic of Barbie being seen as boring, it's really not lost on me that the eras most brought up and shown respect by the general public are things like Reputation, with its like bad bitch persona, a role Taylor played played in response to media scrutiny, or something like Folklore and Evermore, which were both stripped back, less shiny, containing often depressing content, compared to albums like Lover or Showgirl, which were marketed as colourful, bright, celebrating love and life. These were deemed by the general public to be her most cringe. So when we are looking at things like Barbie versus Bratz, I think really we are looking at this dichotomy of popular versus cool. And if you are a Swiftie, I think we all know that cool is not something Taylor has ever been, or likely will ever be.
So you are not blasé.
I try to be sometimes, but it's just hard when you get excited about stuff.
I remember being in primary school and loving Taylor, but A, it was not cool to like, well, anything that girls liked, so jot that down. But also country music, not cool. And then third, Taylor's excited nature paired with her pop sensibilities. None of these things are cool compared to someone who comes up through maybe a more indie underground scene. These elements are kind of at two different ends of the totem pole stick. I think I lost my metaphor along the way there, but you guys get what I mean. For example, one of the lyrics that charli XCX wrote about Taylor once was, "Couldn't be her if I tried." And personally, I think that goes both ways. Taylor Swift has never been the cool kid, and her fans have also never been like the cool kid. I think that's one of the reasons we all fell for her music in the first place, was because she was this beacon of hope for people that felt left out, uncool, trying to find a place in this world, if you will. And then conversely, Charli does not have Taylor's commercial or charting or mainstream worldwide success, but is coming from that indie club scene, boiler room set, which would be considered cool. Someone who wears sunglasses inside and uses strobe lights and loves pharmaceuticals and describes themselves as a brat. These are two polar opposites, yet also two successful women who have found their own lane and their own voice.
What would you like to give? I'd like to give you singing lessons. Just heard your new single, out. Has been, never was, bottle blonde, lip syncer, bra stuffer.
You guys might be familiar with the concept of Brat Summer, which was an incredible marketing movement. And though it was mostly kind of represented by this unique color and all of the brands that jumped on board, the concept of brat itself represented messiness, sass, and maybe even being a little bit rude or reckless. There are a few examples of instances during that era that were described as, sorry, I just have to do this, it fits in with the brat persona. Quick disclaimer, obviously everything I say today is simply one person's opinion. Everything presented today is just theory. Jumping off that whole club scene thing, I think the lyric that tipped people off, Charli fans especially, that this might be about her, was the reference to Coca-Cola in that opening line, since products like that are a huge part of Charli's brand. She has written about this in many of her songs.
But I'm going skiing even when the slopes are closed, because I'm so hot with snow up my nose. Yes, that's from a song called Hot Girl.
I'm so hot with snow up my nose. Should we do a little key? Should we have a little French manicure? Wipe away the residue. Got the party bag with the purple bills.
Charli also sold a Coca-Cola themed vinyl with white powder in it. You know, some people called this irresponsible to glamorize drug use. Other people said that is so brat. Personally, I'm just honestly kind of shocked that that would be approved. But then we have high-fived my ex and then you said you're glad he ghosted me, which is kind of an insane lyric for how much this parallels things we know from other songs. Firstly, on the Torture Poets department, Taylor spoke about how the loss of this person would be detrimental to her life.
You would kill yourself if I ever leave. And I had said that to Jack about you. Might just die, it would make no difference. D-Y-I-N-G.
And then on Brat, in the song Sympathy is a Knife, Charli preyed on the downfall of Taylor's relationship and said how much she hated seeing her backstage at her boyfriend's show, as their partners were bandmates at this time.
Don't wanna see her backstage at my boyfriend's show. Fingers crossed behind my back, I hope they break up quick.
I do want to preface, in case anyone hasn't heard that song, largely that song is more about Charli's personal insecurities, but there are a few lines that are a little bit more wishing harm upon others, I should say. And that album Brat was marketed as something that was going to be messy, unfiltered, ruffle some feathers, and talk about other women in the industry.
I'm seeing online that some people think that there are diss tracks on Brat, and I just wanted to come on here and clarify that there aren't, apart from maybe Von Dutch, which kind of is. I'll probably be chastised for it, but whatever, it's reality.
I don't even see myself as a pop star. I actually see myself as an anti-pop star.
And there was another song by Charli, which I've seen people think it's also about Taylor, and I don't believe that is true. The song Von Dutch is kind of another diss track, but I believe it was for a different one of Maddie Healy's exes, FKA Twigs. On that she sings, "It's okay to just admit that you're jealous of me. I heard you talk about me, that's the word on the street." I just don't think it's about Taylor, because on this song, Charli brags about having more money than this person and how this person will only sleep with someone to be famous or something like that. But back to the lyric around Charli hoping that Taylor and Maddie would break up. The lyric "fingers crossed behind my back" is really interesting as a visual, because it sort of presents this idea of being two-faced, right? Maybe you're being polite to someone's face, but behind your back, somewhere they can't see, you are secretly wishing the worst for them. Which again, ultimately, I think if something is done in private, it's just a human reaction. However, high-fiving after that horrific thing that was so painful comes true kind of takes that as something that was bred from insecurity and a feeling of inferiority around that person and makes it something like downright spiteful. And I think given, obviously, for anyone that has listened to the Tortured Poets Department, you know what a tumultuous and painful time that was for Taylor. For someone to celebrate that pain that you were in would really personally strike a chord for me. I also think there could be some pain attached to the fact that Taylor was attacked by the entire world for being seen with Maddie Healy. There were campaigns from haters and fans alike because of his actions, whereas as far as I know, and granted I'm not in that fandom, so I could be wrong, but as far as I know, Charli fans have never tried to cancel her for that same thing, for her choosing to be his friend and associate with him. Before I keep going with the lyrics, I do kind of feel like I have to provide a bit of context about the relationship between these two women, because that is what I do in these deep dives. Again, I do feel a little bit nervous talking about this stuff just because I know there are people that want to turn this into drama and make it more than it is, which is just a relationship that has nothing to do with us. We don't know all the details. All I'm presenting today is the things that we do know. So take from that what you will, but always please keep in mind that there are things going on behind the scenes that we have no idea about. So obviously, as we know, this song is about a one-sided beef. And the reason that this beef is one-sided is because Taylor has only ever extended love and kindness and support to who we assume is on the receiving end of the song. The very first overlap I could find of Taylor and Charli was back in the 1989 era when a girl had posted on Tumblr that she was going through a horrific breakup, and Taylor reached out to her, sent her a personal message and said, "We've all been there. This is the worst feeling in the world. I'm so sorry. Here is a playlist of songs that I love that will hopefully make you feel better." And the first song she included was by Charli. In addition to that, during the top selling event of the year, the 1989 tour, Taylor invited Charli to come out and sing with her. At this point, she was mostly known for her songs Fancy and I Love It. Taylor sang Charli's praises, and Charli covered Taylor's song Shake It Off. Taylor publicly and privately continued to support Charli and then invited her to support her on the Reputation Stadium tour alongside Camila Cabello. While on tour, Charli said,
"She's an incredible businesswoman and she's really kind. She makes us feel like so welcome. It feels like a girl gang on tour together. It's really good."
There was then a little bit of drama because the Rep tour were the biggest crowds that Charli had ever performed to, and I think still might be in terms of like her own headlining shows. But in an interview, she said, "I'm really grateful Taylor asked me on that tour, but as an artist, it kind of felt like I was getting up on stage and waving to 5-year-olds. Like I said earlier, obviously the two artists have very different fan bases, so I don't think Charli meant that as a diss. I think it just came off a little bit disrespectful maybe to Taylor's fans, which is something I'm sure she doesn't take lightly. However, after backlash, she took this back and clarified she had largely just been playing over 18 club gigs, so to be on a stage in front of all ages was new and made her approach performances with a whole new kind of energy. She added, "It was brilliant opening for Taylor. I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity I was given." Personally, I don't think this was that big of a deal, and I also don't think opening for Taylor on the Rep tour did that much for Charli's career, especially in the same way you look at artists like Gracie Abrams, Sabrina Carpenter, people that have opened on the Eras tour and just like skyrocketed. Charli's success, I think, came from continued appearances at the underground club scene and of course the marketing genius that was Brat. Taylor and Charli are around the same age, I think 2 years apart, so have both been working really hard at their careers for a long time. And I think after that era is when Charli really kind of found her own lane, her own sound, and that is when she hit her biggest success. So in 20 2021, Charli collaborated with the 1975 and would begin to date band member George Daniel, who then helped work on her Crash album. Charli has been very close friends with Maddie Healy for a long time and was on tour with them to support her then boyfriend George at the time that Taylor may have also been around. In 2023, Taylor surprised fans when she came out at a 1975 show and performed one of her songs as well as one of theirs, with Maddie calling for the crowd to respect the Queen. Now, something I found interesting is that the very first time Charli and Matty ever interacted or spoke, Taylor was brought up as well.
Charli XCX the singer?
Yeah, Charli XCX the singer. She's here. She's on the radio with us.
Hello.
Oh, hello, darling. You all right?
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. It's nice to meet you in weird circumstances. But
The interviewer was obviously asking Charli questions and then called Maddie Healy for some reason. They were introduced, they started speaking, and the interviewer said this about Taylor.
I met Taylor Swift. That was really nice.
This is my hit prediction that Taylor Swift and you are going to be the next big thing. You're going to be an item.
You're calling that, are you? Yeah, I mean, we exchanged numbers. Let's see what happens. What bloody hell, what are we going to do? Go out with Taylor Swift? I mean, she's a sensation. Wouldn't say no.
That is a great choice, and I back it in, and I'm happy to be best man at the wedding.
So I do wonder if, in a way, Taylor's presence has kind of loomed over Charli from the very beginning. But then when she had found her footing as this kind of like indie club artist, dating the 1975, feeling really comfortable in that niche, all of a sudden, the big giant that is Taylor Swift is now also there. It might send you back to that like high school feeling of the popular girl.
Being a girl in school,
Yeah.
it like sucks so hard.
Why?
You know? Just because like other girls are so mean. Yeah.
I can definitely imagine that she might have felt insecure, as we heard on her song. So then the day the Tortured Poets department came out, Charli posted on Twitter, "Sympathy is a knife," if we needed any more confirmation as to who that song was about. When Charli started promoting her album Brat, her fans kind of made it about Taylor Swift. I'm pretty sure their fan name is Angels, which Charli's Angels, I think that is very cute. However, in this instance, I cannot refer to them as that because at these shows, her fans started chanting, "Taylor is dead." And this happened just after a fan had lost her life at the Eras tour, which is obviously distressing enough, but also obviously called back to when Kim and Kanye tried to globally silence and cancel Taylor in 2016, to which she said she was cancelled within an inch of her life. And that's something I don't think we as fans or the general public talk enough about. Like, within an inch of my life has a very specific meaning to it. And again, I just don't think really anyone in the world can understand what that feels like at that level. So yeah, safe to say, a lot of Charli fans do not like Taylor. But again, I'm sure there is a lot of overlap. And shout out to you if you're watching and that is you. Charli eventually asked for this behavior to stop. She said, "It's not what I stand for." But I think instances like that are a really good representation of the song. In a moment that should have been about celebrating Charli's career and the success of Brat and enjoying her music, her fans were still making that moment about Taylor. That's something that doesn't really happen on the reverse. During the peak of the Eras tour success, Charli did a very graphic friendship bracelet themed photo shoot with a severed hand to promote the Brat album. And this was interpreted as seemingly mocking Taylor and the fans that Charli had deemed so like young and immature.
She looks at me like I'm a trend and she's so over it.
Personally, I think the creative direction was probably more like Charli cutting herself off from previous versions of herself that were attached to the pop world and including, you know, her time and relationship with Taylor, but more so just mainstream pop in general, which is ironic because Brat is her most mainstream album. But I would give her the benefit of the doubt here and say that she wasn't directly shading Taylor in that, but maybe just cutting herself off from what Taylor represented. Beaded bracelets like that are also known as candy and are big in festival culture, but Charli's fans, or angels I guess I should call them, have attributed friendship bracelets to Taylor and Swifties and the culture that the Eras tour represented. Any other month, this would just be seen as like a petty jab, I guess. However, there had sadly just been I don't even know how Taylor talks about this because it's horrific, mass murder of little children at a Taylor Swift themed dance class.
There was this horrible attack in Liverpool and it was little kids that...
The youngsters aged 6 to 11 were dancing to Taylor Swift songs when an attacker armed with a knife launched a frenzied assault.
So to have something that represented girlhood and innocence, like the friendship bracelets at that time, be used in such a violent way felt quite insensitive. Okay, we continue on. In August of 2024, so months after Brat had come out, Taylor said in an interview, "I've been blown away by Charli's melodic sensibility since I first heard Stay Away in 2011. Her writing is surreal and inventive always. She just takes a song to places places you wouldn't expect it to go, and she's been doing it consistently for over a decade. I love to see hard work like that pay off. This is why I can't understand when people think that Actually Romantic is a response song, because Taylor specifically has praised Charli since that. In the lead up to Showgirl's release, Gabriette, who is Charli's best friend and Maddie's now fiance, commented on a video of a girl trying to predict what songs on the life of a showgirl would sound like and said, "Babe, record Actually Romantic, please," showing that Charli's inner circle were in fact seeking out and listening to leaks of Taylor's work, and unfortunately kind of proving the point of this song. I actually hate that I have to include this next thing. I'm gonna give a trigger warning for severe racism. It was revealed that Charli had been liking Taylor hate posts online. The account itself is horrifically racist, but this was the post she was caught liking. I'm not going to explain what that means. Hopefully people can understand it, but I don't know if she followed that page or if someone sent it to her or if it's just what her algorithm looked like. But unfortunately, it's not a great look, and once again does kind of prove the point of this song. Allegedly, that kind of behavior has continued recently. I have not seen Charli's film The Moment, but according to her fans that have watched it, she does in fact reference and shade Taylor. I think some Charli fans referred to it as a 2-hour subtweet about Taylor Swift.
In The Moment by Charli XCX, it's not subtle. They talk about the light up bracelets at Taylor Swift's concert. The Johannes character is basically trying to pitch a really lame pop star tour, and everything he pitches and everything they do is Taylor Swift. It's the light up bracelets. There is an exact replica of the 1989 outfit drawn on Charli's body as like, you should wear this. It's the pink set, the sequin set.
Yes, okay, got it.
That's drawn. They copy exact dance moves from the Eras tour. Multiple of the exact same dance sequences and dance moves from the Eras tour and the Reputation tour. When she's reaching the arm out, the vigilante shit dance on the chairs. They remake exact moments of Taylor Swift's. It's not subtle, and they weren't aiming to be either. Like, they're not stupid. They did it on purpose, and that's fine. Like, you can do it. But it just made me laugh seeing it, because I was like, oh, people really tried to pretend that Charli was like undeserving of a song being written about her, and I just kind of think they're both
she's not a
they're going tit for tat. They can both have their opinions. Charli's opinion is the way you do pop stardom is lame and I don't like it, and here's this movie about how I think that would be the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to me. And Taylor's thing is, I don't care.
I feel bad for you. I don't think about you at all.
I love Charli XCX. Brat is one of the best albums ever made. Claws is one of the best songs ever made. All of this being said, I think The Moment missed the mark.
It really was just a massive dig to Taylor Swift.
You literally took beat for beat Eras tour clips and just inserted yourself and shaded Taylor Swift and shaded that. And so then it's kind of like, well, now Taylor Swift's winning because you proved her right.
Yeah. And now, you're proving her point in the song. Like, it's giving obsessed.
It was shade. Charli XCX, you're so awesome on your own.
Yeah, it was almost giving, and like maybe I'm like being the woker, but again, it's one of those things where it's like I'm above it because I'm not a sellout, and like I'm not doing what other pop girls are doing, and like I'm cool and I'm authentic and I'm unique, and like I'm above that almost. I'm so authentic. I'm so different from all of you, and I'm not a sellout. It almost comes back to like
Amazon sponsored that. Also, like if Amazon had sponsored anything like a movie by Taylor Swift, people would be like, "Fuck you, you Jeff Bezos like bitch." Like people would be so annoyed. Amazon, Starface, all of these corporations, you shouldn't be criticizing, especially other women in your field.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's this holier than thou kind of stance. And it almost to me painted her like in more of a negative light. And like, again, like I love her down. So like seeing her do that just made me kind of like it left like a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And it was giving like, it's actually romantic.
Charli's career really heavily benefited from the release of Actually Romantic. She had her biggest listening spike for the entire year. Ultimately, both girls are just laughing it up behind the scenes. And at the end of the day, Taylor is just taking a mean girl situation into a funny one. One of the things that Charli said in promoting her album Brat is how if you don't like all women, you're deemed not a feminist. And I actually really agree with that. Some women just won't get along, and that's perfectly valid. She's been criticized over the years for not being a girl's girl and preferring to spend time with men instead because they're less drama.
I actually avoid the girls' bathroom in clubs. I always just like sneak into the men's because there's no line and there's no like drama and annoying like, he's that, you know. I don't actually like the deep chats. Find it really annoying. I'm just like, oh, you're killing my vibe.
Which I don't agree with at all. The girls' bathroom is my favorite place, but here I do agree with her. I think two women can just not get along and not be in each other's lives, and that's totally fine. At the end of the day, women are, as human beings, messy and complicated and flawed and imperfect and iconic and vulnerable. As Lorde so beautifully penned, inside that icon, there's still a young girl from Essex. You know, we all experience things that trigger our personal mother wounds and pain points, and the best kind of art is art that gets people talking, and ultimately both of these songs did. Also, side note and unrelated, it does really please me that both of these women are still finding such success in their mid-30s, which is just something that at least Taylor, I know, has spoken about, seems quite rare. It's not something we get to see enough, so shout out to that.
I'm 32, so we're considered geriatric pop stars.
No, I don't think so.
They start trying to put us out to pasture at age 25. I'm just happy to be here.
So let's get back to these lyrics. The line leading into the chorus might be my runner-up for the thesis statement. Some people might be offended, but it's actually sweet. In saying that, she's emphasizing that had all of these mean-spirited, catty things been done to anyone else, they would probably be quite hurt, but Taylor has bigger fish to fry. If you've seen the docuseries, you know the things that are going on in her world that she has to worry about.
I'm gonna meet some of these families tonight.
Someone from her past, who she has always been incredibly kind and respectful and uplifting to, suddenly talking shit about her, probably does not sit very high on the priority list. And what I love about the chorus is kind of it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek congratulations towards this person for just how much time they have dedicated to hating her. We end it with my favorite line of the whole song. No man has ever loved me like you do.
No man has ever loved me like you do.
This is just such a blank space type lyric. Referencing that old media critique that Taylor Swift has all of these men after her but also can't keep them.
I know it's like speculated that I have it's just like boyfriendcity.com.
You know, I'm really sick of Taylor Swift. 9 guys in 9 months. Figure out why, you dumb bitch. What? She doesn't douche. I'm gonna tell you that she doesn't douche.
And she's also poking fun at herself saying that, being like, damn, I've never even been given this much attention by the men that I was actually with. For all of the loves that I've apparently had, my haters are even more devoted. It's credit where credit is due. And that single line, but also this entire song, has a much bigger meaning. This is not just about Charli and Taylor. This song is for people who claim to not care about someone and then write 3,000 word think pieces, or worse, make TikToks. It's for people who said they hate Taylor Swift, yet tuned in to hear her album the second it came out, just so they could talk about all the things they hate about it. To me, this song is essentially an extension of the phrase, there is a thin line between love and hate. If you are obsessing about someone and talking about them, whether positively or negatively, there's not that much difference. You care. Maybe you're even obsessed. And that made me think about an even more iconic line on The Vampire Diaries when Stefan told Catherine he hated her, and she replied,
"You hate me, huh? That sounds like the beginning of a love story, Stefan, not the end of one."
Now, don't get me wrong, I do not ship Stathren, but the girl had a point. We all know hating someone is a very strong emotion. Investing and devoting your precious time to someone else is not indifference. There are plenty of artists that I don't like. Do I make videos on here about them? No, because what is the point? Whereas sadly for Taylor, people who claim to hate or not care about her make it their entire personality. We've seen this ongoing with Charli fans. One man even bought her guitar at an auction just to immediately smash it. Now, I think this says a lot more about fragile masculinity and misogyny than it does about Taylor herself, but again, there is this pattern that I just do not see prevalent with any other artists where people have to make their hatred for her known. Personally, I've always found Taylor to be a great litmus test for someone's personality, similar to horoscopes. For example, horoscopes are not something that I personally am drawn to, but if someone goes out of their way to tell you how stupid it is and how dumb girls are for liking it, I'm gonna keep note of that. Charli's own fans making merch about Taylor rather than supporting her at her own shows is genuinely devastating. It's honestly wild, all the effort they put in. I empathize with her a lot in that way. Anyway, then we have verse 2, hadn't thought about you in a long time, but you keep sending me funny valentines. We got a cute Easter egg about this in the pop-up promoting Showgirl, and to me, that is the expansion on one of my favorite songs ever written, But Daddy I Love Him, when she said, sanctimoniously performing soliloquies I'll never see. Those soliloquies could be a TikTok, a YouTube YouTube video, a Substack essay, a song, or all of the things you're saying behind my back that people let me know about that I just don't care too much about. The entire point of this song is people can say whatever they want about you behind your back, online, in person, whatever. You don't have to give it any weight. Either shake it off or take it for the compliment that it is. And I think verse 2 kind of emphasizes the fact that she was like, I was happy carrying on in my indifference, but I'm just gonna put this to rest now because you simply will not leave it alone. I really do love a toy chihuahua barking at me from a tiny purse.
Oh my gosh, I opened my mouth and a little purse falls out.
Chihuahuas, if you didn't know, are very aggressive, vicious dogs, but kind of don't know their own size. So they are the smallest pet I'm pretty sure you can own, the smallest pet that ever lived. And a toy chihuahua is one that has been genetically bred to be even smaller. So in their mind, they probably feel like this apex predator barking and yapping, but in reality, it's like so inconsequential. And a little reminder here for anyone who cares, but please adopt, don't shop. There are so many beautiful, loving, kind animals that deserve a home, and the things that breeders do to animals is horrific. It's not something that I could even talk about or show on here. And I know this is so irrelevant to the video, but it just made me think about that. So shout out to any of you that have adopted animals at home. I love you. Please give them a pat and a kiss for me. Also, shout out to any of you when you post on your story, if you're watching one of my videos and your pet is also there watching with you. As someone that has never had a pet, that means the world to me. Thank you. Even if it is not watching my video, I always want to see your pets. Please keep tagging me. Thank you so much. We get a fun little nod to this in the Fate of Ophelia music video with Natalie in fact holding a toy chihuahua in a tiny purse. And then this line, how many times has your boyfriend said, why are we always talking about her, is just so good and kind of a direct callback to something in Charli's own discography. Her lyrics say, George says I'm just paranoid, says he don't see it, he's so naive. George says I'm just paranoid. So this is not only a gentle nod to be like, please stop talking about me, but also emphasizes the tongue-in-cheek nature of the song. This person has a romantic partner, yet is spending their precious time with them, talking about Taylor and bringing up this imaginary fight. This internalized, one-sided feud is starting to impact their real relationships. And now we have my favorite part of the song, the bridge. You think I'm tacky, baby. Stop talking dirty to me. Stop talking dirty to me. It sounded nasty, but it feels like you're flirting with me. And that right there is the thesis statement of this song to me. Hearing someone bitch about you nonstop and just letting it roll off your back. Realizing that them obsessing over you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And taking it for the flattery that it is. I especially love that it sounded nasty and not, you know, you're being nasty, because it just emphasizes like, it's over here and I'm not really tuning in. Like, it kind of sounded nasty, but I don't really care enough to listen. I just don't give haters the time of day like that. The joke that it turns her on to be talked about like this is kind of the ultimate gotcha. Because ultimately, as I've said, this song is not about one person. It's about anyone who spends their time obsessing over someone who doesn't think about them at all. AKA 90% of Stan Twitter. I mind my business, God's my witness that I don't provoke it. A perfect callback to so many things in her discography.
I swear I don't love the drama. It loves me. Start shit, but I can tell you how it ends. I keep my side of the street clean.
And also just her life, whether it is Scooter Braun, Scott Borchetta, John Mayer, or Kanye West. Taylor Swift has never started the fight, but she always ends it. And then It's Kind of Making Me Wet, followed by a release of emotion, is the most surprising and exciting thing that I think I've heard from Taylor Swift in a long time. The way all of the instruments build up and let go at the same time as that is just so good. The best line in the outro is, it's honestly lovely, because once you keep listening to this album chronologically and get to Honey, we know that that term is often used in a condescending way. And what it all boils down to is, you just give me so much attention. These backing ad-libs are absolutely my favorite part of the song, besides the guitar. It's just so fun. To me, it reminds me of Better Than Revenge. And then we get these little shoe bops, which feels very throwback, maybe paying homage to some previous Showgirls, but I will just always love vintage Taylor. Like, it's kind of giving Welcome to the 60s from Hairspray. Overall, this is obviously an incredibly catchy song and something that I think we can all benefit from and put to use in our own lives. At the end of the day, people who actively claim to hate or dislike or not care about Taylor do in fact play a huge part in her success. They tune in on release day, like the rest of us, so that they can make their tweets and TikToks and have a say and be a part of the conversation, which at the end of the day is kind of fan behavior. And in reality, this message can also be applied to any of us. Again, likely on a much smaller scale, but she is ultimately giving giving us a reminder that anyone dedicating that much time to you in their one precious life is actually a little bit romantic. Now, would I love it if someday Charli and Taylor got together and worked it out on the remix? Yes, I think that would be incredible. But until then, I'm going to keep blasting this song, loving it, and praying for more rock from Taylor in the future. Well, next up we have track 8, Wishlist. Another fun, controversial, and greatly misunderstood song. Wishlist was in fact the last song written for the life of a showgirl. After Taylor penned this, she knew the album was done. When you think about the fact that Elizabeth Taylor was the first song written for this album, a song that contains so much, not insecurity, but maybe doubt or fear, to then end the album in this place of such security, and she didn't even know what was to come afterward. It's really nice progress.
The album came out with this energy of just feeling really happy and strong and confident and free, because that's the way that I get to feel every single day of my life because of my fiance, who's here tonight.
Obviously, it's a similar theme to songs like Can't Buy Me Love by the Beatles. All of the things money can offer, but at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is connection and love. And I think my favorite thing about this song is that there is zero judgment. So as we go through and discuss these different, options for life of things that people might want, Taylor is specific about saying from the grand luxuries to the everyday stuff, relatable to even us chumps. She wants everyone else to be happy. Naturally, I'm going to try and debunk some of the conspiracy theories today, but I will do that when we get to those specific lyrics. So let's get into it. We open singing about yacht life under chopper blades, which honestly kind of reminds me of The Man, but it's also just something that a lot of other artists sing about wanting or like flex about having, whether it's a private jet, a helicopter, a yacht, all just kind of signs of wealth. Would we say excess wealth?
I never growing up had anything designer. My mom wouldn't let me. I think I got my first pair of Louboutins when I graduated high school. We have bright lights and Balenci shades. Now, most people don't actually know this, but that is a reference to Pitch Perfect. Bright lights and the big city. Now, obviously here, bright lights could refer to Hollywood, show business, paparazzi, or that overhead light that most of us like to have turned off at night to curate a vibe. But if you notice, the things here that Taylor is listing kind of form a pattern in that they are opposites or contradictions of one another. Bright lights, but shades to block it out. Another kind of contradiction is a fat ass with a baby face. And this is when I start to wonder if the they she is talking about is not necessarily just what other people want, but also what the industry expects from showgirls.
Because if you're thin enough, then you don't have that ass that everybody wants. But if you have enough weight on you to have an ass, then your stomach isn't flat enough.
A fat ass, we want womanly curves, but you better also have a baby face. You are simply not allowed to show signs of aging. Obviously, we all know that there is a much darker theme and element that I could get to on that topic of wanting women to look young and childlike, and a lot of this stems from patriarchy, but also something a little bit more sinister. There is this dual dichotomy always wanted, expected, and demanded from women, especially women in the industry, but also all women, which is like sexiness, fertility, but also perpetual youth. I mean, Taylor herself talked about this when she said, sometimes I feel like everybody is a sexy baby and I'm a monster on the hill.
Society puts a lot of pressure on us to act a certain way. You can drop the sexy baby act.
That is what the concept of sexy baby is referring to. It is someone that is womanly and sexual, but also youthful and innocent, maybe even naive. But that just got me thinking about how a lot of this song can be viewed as what they want from a showgirl. They want a fat ass, but also a baby face. Similarly, that makes me think about they want that complex female character. Yes, this obviously applies to media and films and TVs, but also in real women. We claim to love and want like complex female characters, messy and imperfect, fictional or otherwise, yet we tend to chastise them for it. That critical smash Palme d'Or, and I apologize for butchering the pronunciation of that, that is the most prestigious award given to a director. It is only given out once per year at the Cannes Film Festival.
Have you ever served on a jury before?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was it?
Cannes? Yeah, it's the film festival.
And then I love the contrast to that of the Oscar on the bathroom floor, because it's almost just been tossed aside as if it is meaningless, irrelevant. The interesting part here, they should have what they want, they deserve what they want, I hope they get what they want. Taylor here is giving well wishes and wanting the best for literally everyone, despite that same kindness not being extended to her. I do think our thesis statement here is quite simple. It is, I just want you. Money and success are truly meaningless at the end of the day if we do not have human connection. Alexa, play The Prophecy by Taylor Swift. Then we have the line that sent the entire world into a mass psychosis. Have a couple kids, got the whole block looking like you. Now, I know personally, I'm trying to think back to my reaction, but I don't think that I was particularly gobsmacked to hear this lyric because Taylor, like all artists, has sung about love her entire career, amongst many other things. But as one branch of love, you might say, marriage and babies is something that Taylor has also mentioned throughout her career. From her earlier albums before fame had fully taken over into the beast that it is today, her dream was simple.
Got down on one knee. I got babies on the very front porch. Talk to your dad, go pick out a white dress. I take this magnetic force of a man to be mine. I like shiny things, but I'd marry you with paper rings. And I wouldn't marry me either. You gonna marry kids or kill me? I'm betting on all three. When I said I don't believe in marriage, that was a lie.
Okay, at 32, in 10 years, either have a family or know when I want to have one. You know, I see little kids and I'm just like, oh my God, someday. Maybe in 10 years.
For a little extra context, I also wanted to read out this Cosmopolitan interview from 2012, where Taylor was asked, can you imagine doing anything else other than music? To which Taylor said, being a mum full-time, doing everything for my kids, having a bunch of them. That's the only other thing that could be as thrilling for me as doing this. On Peace, it had become something she felt like she had to bargain for amongst the chaos that was her life.
Give you my wild, give you a child.
By Lavender Haze, she was forced to downplay the idea of wanting it at all, because as we would soon learn, he wouldn't marry her either. And then on the Tortured Poets department, it was once again dangled and then ripped away.
You should talk to me under the table, talking rings and talking cradle.
And this to me kind of circles back to the lyric on, again, that first song written for this album, Elizabeth Taylor. What could you possibly get for the girl who has everything and nothing all at once? So this is a theme I've talked a lot about in my videos, but people really tend to simplify the impact that fame has on one's life, or maybe not fame, maybe rather money. And a lot of people really do believe that money solves every single problem that you have. Now, I won't deny money would be very convenient. It can solve a lot of problems. However, like I always say, the kind of number one thing that we can't overlook besides our health is human connection. I'm about to say something really radical and no one has ever had this thought before. Money does not solve all of your problems. If you have all the money in the world but are alone, you may not be happy. In fact, I think back to Chris McCandless, which, you know, we can have a discussion about this, but upon leaving the world behind and seeing the beauty of nature, his ultimate discovery was happiness is only real when shared. And growing up as an only child, I heavily related to that. I heavily fucked with that quote. And it is the reason that I feel so lucky to have beautiful friends, beautiful community, amazing people in my life, because I know, you know, you can achieve any goal, any success, check things off your wish list. At the end of the day, if you don't have people to give you a hug when you need it, the rest of that wish list is meaningless. So now if we look at Taylor when writing this, or maybe even in her Tortured Poets department era, she is at the absolute top of her game career-wise, while many of her friends were engaged, married, or having kids.
You know, Claire just had a baby. And I was like, so it's like a Tamagotchi.
I think you would be an excellent mother.
Thanks.
Of Taylor's closest friends, Abigail, Blake, Claire, Gigi, Ed, or even more peripheral friends like Emma Stone, Sophie Turner, they all have children. Taylor is even godmother to at least 5 of those babies. I would be very surprised if she's not for Abigail's as well. Then if we expand that a little bit more to look at Taylor's peers, obviously the general public had quite an issue with the notion of Taylor eventually getting married and having kids, and said that in her doing that it was anti-feminist, it made her a trad wife. And again, I would just like to compare her to her peers who have not received this same criticism. For example, Beyonce had a world tour called Mrs. Carter. Lana Del Rey now signs her autograph with her husband's last name. Katy Perry has a daughter. Selena and Demi are married. Ariana has been married. Charli XCX sang I Want a White Dress, Countryside House, and Kids. Rihanna has taken a decade off music to be with her husband, have many kids, and nobody is mad about the fact that she has done that. People simply miss her in music. So now that Taylor is the one that has mentioned the idea of wanting kids, people lost their damn minds. The outcry and response to this, the idea that wanting kids is suddenly anti-feminist, is crazy. I mean, firstly, how are we going to have the next generation be feminists unless the feminists are raising them? And the second part of that line, got the whole block looking like you. Once again, this is really where context matters. So from memory, people claimed that this line was her being a white supremacist and wanting to only live in a suburb of people that looked like them. I'm gonna give people some grace and understand that this was a targeted bot PR attack, smear campaign, and not genuinely how people interpret those words, because there is just simply so much context here within these own lines that makes it clear that is not the case. For example, the line that follows this, we tell the world to leave us the F alone, and they do. So just here she is stating they're alone. The block is just them. Being the most famous and recognizable couple in the world right now, they're not going to be living in a random suburban street surrounded by other people's kids. Those kids are simply only theirs. That's their kids. So people saying that they only want to be surrounded by other white people is weird, because the reason that they would look like him is because they are his kids. They have his genes.
Why didn't Jason bring jeans for Jason?
He was too busy putting jeans on the 3 girls.
Yeah, she was too busy getting the entire family situated with the babysitter and then getting herself ready and making sure her parents are with her.
On top of that, there is just an ongoing joke about the Kelsey family, about their genes being crazy strong, and like Kylie never had a chance for her kids to look like her.
From Life of a Showgirl inspired a viral tweet, and I have to admit, they got my ass. The tweet says, a whole block full of baby Kelsey heads. Someone commented on that tweet and said, the fate of Kylie Kelsey. The lyric is, quote, have a couple kids, got the whole block looking like you. I've said it so many times before, the Kelsey genes are strong. The genes are strong, guys. I don't know what to tell you. We don't have a fighting chance. Luckily, they make very cute children. We do have half the block already covered.
Taylor here is saying, as so many other people have, I love my partner so much. I don't care if they don't look like me. I hope they look like you, in fact, because I love you so much. I also feel sad that I have to explain this, but these lines are hyperbole. There's this saying that maybe isn't used as much anymore, which is perhaps why people don't really understand it. And I think this isn't used as much anymore because who could afford more than like 1 or 2 kids in this economy? But it's the notion of like, you just keep popping out kids, you're trying to like build a basketball team, essentially. I don't actually know how many people are on a basketball team. I feel like it's only 5 on a court at a time. I play a sport with at least 11 people on the team, so that's crazy to me. But people will also joke about, or not even joke about, actually experience the notion of being kind of meh towards the idea of having kids, and then of being so in love with someone that suddenly you want to create a million little mini-me's that look and act just like them, purely because of how much love you have for them. That's what she's saying here. And again, just like with Opalite, there were specifically paid for targeted bot attacks created to spin the narrative of this song. So please don't feel bad if you fell for that. There was genuinely a huge amount of money, effort, and time put into making people feel like there was a genuine shared collective consciousness against this song, which is honestly very new to me, but it is very powerful and very real.
I never believe what I read in the papers.
Obviously, people are free to have their own opinions and thoughts, and that will be shaped by our own life experiences, but just know we always have to use our critical thinking and media literacy when understanding art. More on that when we get to cancelled. So yeah, the line, we tell the world to leave us alone, and they do. What I love most is that this does not represent Taylor going into hiding again, whether like she did in the 2016 cancellation, where she simply was not seen for over a year, nor is it the, 6-year period that she hid away kind of inside her home. This is more just having privacy when wanted. Pretty straightforward, aka no, you can't come to the wedding. And then Got Me Dreaming About a Driveway with a Basketball Hoop is simply the most Nathan Scott, Haley James Lucas Scott thing I've ever heard. And for someone like Taylor, when you've lived in the heart of cities like New York and Nashville, likely most of the time in apartments, alone for privacy, the chaos of a big cluttered house with kids running around playing sport in the driveway is the exact opposite of that, and to her sounds like a dream. Personally, the first time I saw Father of the Bride, I wanted that exact house, I want that basketball hoop, plus I wanted to look like Annie and have her outfits.
How many times do you think we played out here?
About 1,000.
None of that has changed, really. One thing this makes me think about is the vulnerability of this song, because the other things on this wish list, for Taylor at least, are somewhat attainable. To have a yacht or Balenci shades, these material wealth things you can just simply buy if you have the means to do so. There is something as fragile as love with another person. That is something that you only have 50% control over, max. We have 11 whole albums showing how easily that can be taken away. We also know, sadly, that fertility is not always a given. So I just think to be openly singing about how much you want these things before any of it is really promised is brave to me. I think I said that in my reaction to the Torture Poets department too, because she mentioned obviously marriage and children so many times on that album, despite one of the themes of that album was the fact that it was ripped away from her twice, and yet still she had the courage to be open about wanting them, compared to something like Lavender Haze. So then we have Boss Up, Settle Down, I Just Want You. This can kind of be interpreted two different ways to me. Let me know how you guys approach this song, but you can kind of view it as like a to-do list. I'm going to do both of those things. I'm going to be the absolute best of my career, and I'm also going to prioritize family. Or it's like her saying, you can do whatever you want. You can boss up, you can settle down. Personally, all I care about is protecting my love. And it's very interesting that this album is a showgirl record, and settling down is kind of something that we don't often afford to our big stars. It's not something we want for them. Or is it something that is even possible to settle down, so to speak, yet also continue to shine? And I think the key word here in Showgirl is girl, because it's not something that is ever really questioned about men. They get to be career driven, success chasing bosses. Having a family never calls into question their commitment to their job nor their political motivations. So then verse 2 is more options for life, many more contradictions of each other. The one that still just perplexes me a little bit is they want that good surf, no hypocrites. Obviously every other line here kind of fits together quite neatly. They want that freedom, living off the grid, that spring break that's fucking lit, but then that video taken off the internet. 3 dogs that they call their kids. And by the way, shout out to those of you out there that have dogs. They are in fact your children. You did birth them, and congratulations for that. I'm just simply failing to make the connection between good surf and no hypocrites. I have thought about this to no end. I have asked my surfer friends. Obviously I know about the like locals only mentality. Famously, I did become a pro surfer last year, but I still just don't really understand the link there. So if anyone has any thoughts, let me know below. One very key line on this song, I made wishes on all of these stars. We already know she's a wisher. We know what song I'm going to talk about next. This song is already preparing us to hear would, and I think this is such intentional track list ordering. I also do wonder if it could be a funny little nod to like, I made attempts with all of these other stars.
Follow the stars beyond the galaxy.
Take the stars beyond the galaxy. Guys, the stars! Hollywood Walk of Fame.
You know, since high school, she hasn't really ever dated a nobody. We've got Marvel actors in there, we've got singers, other people, and like, I made wishes on all of the stars, and sadly, none of them worked. But this is one of many, many instances across her career where Taylor discusses wishing and stars. More on that in the next song. Some of these examples will shock you. That really sounds like a YouTube thumbnail. The results will surprise you. But the second part of that is, please God, bring me a best friend who I think is hot. Okay, we're just dealing with horrific lighting for now, that's fine. Now that we've seen the Opalite music video, that is quite perfectly represented there. She was trying so hard with this one connection that was just dead weight. It wasn't giving anything back, it wasn't working. But in the end, she found her best friend who she thinks is hot. And ultimately, isn't that what every human alive wants? Maybe not if you are like an enemies to lovers girly. Personally, I'm just not that. But in Taylor's case, she has really been singing about wanting that forever. Think about On 1989, a song that was inspired by 2 of her friends, You Are in Love.
You're my best friend, he is in love.
And then I love this. Thought I had it right once, twice, but I did not. And I love the emphasis on the word not.
Twice, but I did not.
We've all heard the Torture Poets department and the anthology. There are 2 very separate instances of grief on that album. One from an oven and one from a microwave. Different approaches, same outcome. So then You Caught Me Off My Guard made me think of In the Eras to a docuseries when she and Andrea are kind of laughing about how nothing else she was trying was working. Dating all of these artsy, serious art boys hadn't worked out, so why not take a chance on this big, beefy, smiley, funny athlete? That is a complete 180 for her. A 180 twist, if you will.
I'd been very non-athlete because I'm not one, and I've always just been like, well, what would we talk about? You said something to the effect of like, you gotta start doing something different.
By the way, if you ever want to see my reactions to the docuseries, that is all over on Patreon, so I will leave that down below. I just think it was so generous of her to share parts of her personal life in that way, because there's obviously such a stark difference to her very long-term relationship that she was in, and I think obviously it's fine for anyone to have different comfort levels and boundaries when it comes to fame and privacy, but for Taylor, it is really a return to form. Back in the day, Taylor used to spill details on her MySpace, in interviews, in the liner notes of her songs.
I want to be a part of these people's lives. I think it's important to keep that personal contact. That's the most fun thing for me.
When I first saw Taylor back at a little bar in Melbourne, she would tell us in between songs about the boy she'd written these for.
This guy didn't know it, and every single day he would come in and sit down next to me in class and talk to me. boyfriend's girlfriend.
I have to warn you that if I have a 5-minute conversation with you, I'm probably gonna write a song about you.
I think I just love that no matter how many times she gets burned, that spark never goes out. After all this, she never became a cynic. Speaking of that show, I went and saw Jensen McRae last night, who is one of my personal favorite singer-songwriters. And for my favorite of her songs, at the very end, she brought out Greta Ray, another one of my favorite singers. But the insane part about this is the venue they were at was the first bar that I ever saw Taylor perform at for her under 18 like club show. And I had not been back since that night. It was just unreal to be reminded of what a small space that was, because I knew back then, even in that exact moment, that I would never see her in a venue this intimate ever again. Like, I remember being so overjoyed, so elated, but also mourning in that moment, knowing this will not last. And sure enough, 1 year later, she won her first Grammy for Fearless. The part that breaks my heart a little bit is that she says, I hope I get what I want because I know what I want. She never says, I deserve what I want, despite saying that for everyone else. So overall, I think this song would be ranked on the lower end for most people. Obviously, if you've seen my tier ranking, you know where I put it. This is going to lean a little bit into personal preference territory here, and I apologize for repeating myself for any of you that are over on my Patreon, but in my Maisie Peters video, I wanted to have a conversation around the idea of like, do we value art as much if it comes from a place of happiness? Because I think the answer is no. I feel like there are definitely exceptions to this, but for the most part, the things that get critical acclaim are the songs, movies, art, made about suffering of some kind. If we look at an album like Red, which obviously contains so much heartbreak and so much great writing about that, my least favorite song on that album is probably Stay, Stay, Stay. And in a way, Wishlist is kind of a grown-up Stay, Stay, Stay. It's not a song about missing someone. It's also not a song about yearning or being heartbroken. It's about loving what you have and wanting to keep it. And a song like this can be seen as simple because fortunately, good, healthy love should be simple. It should be easy. In that video, I think I talked about the fact that albums like Folklore, Evermore, Tortured Poets Department, and even Red are kind of viewed as more worthy, more cool even. You know, The Life of a Showgirl and Folklore were written for catharsis. They served as life rafts during that time. Whereas The Life of a Showgirl, or this song in particular, is more of a celebration. This also just reminded me of the fact that when this era first began, there was a lot of theorizing from fans that there may be a part 2 of the album titled The Death of a Showgirl, which I wonder if that's born from our perspective of Taylor wouldn't write an album that was just so glamorous and glitzy. A showgirl can't be happy. Surely there must be this depressing dark side of the story too. Almost an expectation or desire to hear pain from her, much like on the Tortured Poets Department, which I would argue kind of was the death of a showgirl. Kind of in the same nature that comedy films and rom-coms aren't necessarily taken as seriously and aren't winning these prestigious awards, compared to something that is a little more centered in grief and suffering. Anyway, I know that is such a tangent, but I am just really curious to hear your opinions on that. Obviously, also it's a personal thing and it would depend on what stage of life we are on, what state the world is in, because just personally, I know when I'm going through a hard time, I don't necessarily go to songs about the things that I'm going through because I'm already feeling that deep grief or that deep sadness, depression, anxiety, whatever it is. I very much look to films, songs, art, and media that is uplifting, that can pull me out of that. So I guess at the end of the day, it depends on what we're all ordering from the menu. Again, obviously, if you guys saw my tier ranking, you know this is the song I probably listen to the least, but I do just feel the need to not even defend it, but really just explain it because I find it really hard to sit and watch people believe misinformation. For her to say that she would like to have kids someday means that she is inherently a MAGA trad wife, when on the same album she sings My Dick's Bigger and I'm Immortal Now Baby Dolls and I'm Married to the Hustle.
This happens to be a dream come true for me.
It does not matter who she marries in the future because her first love will always be this career and songwriting.
I just saw some fans going, well, she's going to get married and then she's going to have children and then she's going to be the last album.
A shockingly offensive thing to say.
Absolutely.
It's not why people get married.
No, exactly.
So that they can quit their job.
Right.
I love the person that I am with because he loves what I do and he loves how much I am fulfilled by making art and making music. That's the coolest thing about Trav is like me being passionate about what I do, it connects us.
And unfortunately, kind of circling back to actually romantic, I think this is an issue that arises from people who haven't heard her other music, haven't heard her interviews, don't realize that she's a feminist and outspoken Democrat, and even early in her career when she was a teenager, the country world like came out against her for being an outspoken Democrat. They didn't like that about her.
But the real star of the show was bashing lefties.
The whole crowd erupted
except for one person, Taylor Swift.
Right, Taylor Swift, who's down with the Obama, looked like she was about to get eaten.
Imagine if wearing makeup or a dress could get you killed. For 15-year-old Lawrence King, that's just what happened.
Gay, lesbian, transgender, straight.
Don't close your eyes to discrimination.
None of us are safe until all of us are safe.
Taylor has been known to regularly support liberal causes and endorse Democratic candidates. Taylor also spoke out against Republican Tennessee Senate candidate Marsha Blackburn while endorsing her Democratic opponent Phil Bredesen, as well as Democratic congressional candidate Jim Cooper.
When people who don't know any of that information about her history and her artistry and her work tune in for the sole purpose of hearing one line and removing all context for a gotcha moment, that's how we end up here. Truly, only Taylor Swift could be accused of being a disgusting Democratic cat lady dating the football player whose NFL fans and Trump deemed too woke for taking a knee and promoting vaccines, whilst also being a MAGA trad wife. We've got to hand it to her. The range that she has. Ultimately, my message is always critical thinking and media analysis. Think about, where is this information coming from that I'm reading? Let me address the actual proof and evidence and context and law, rather than just accepting someone that has a bad faith take, quite literally, to get clicks and views. This song, and therefore her last writing for this album, ends with "I just want you." The fact that the day she announced this, she also got engaged, I don't think she realized just how strongly she was manifesting a new era. And I'm just gonna say one last time in this video that getting married or having kids does not make you a MAGA trad wife. So those of you out there watching that are married or have kids, rest easy. I guess I should also finish this by saying, ultimately, I don't know if I understand the meaning behind the dollar signs in the title. Obviously, I get that other people's wishes are kind of more about monetary value, not all of them, but some. Is it just stylistically referencing that? Because I think that's what I said in my predictions video before the song came out. But ultimately, when I see dollar signs, you guys know what I thought of.
Pop sensation, key dollar sign ha.
You mean Kesha?
Well, that is Wishlist. Up next, let's talk about the very deliberately placed track 9, Wood. I know earlier I said I'm not here to try and make you like a song. That is true about every song except Wood. She is just so incredibly slept on, underappreciated, undervalued, misunderstood, and I'm here to help.
You guys are in a crisis. I'm on my way.
So this song reveals some hard truths.
Get it! I love when people are getting.
I brought this into the studio and I was like, I want to do a throwback kind of timeless sounding song. And I have this idea about I got to knock on wood, and we would knock on wood and it would be all these superstitions. And it really started out in a very innocent place. Got in there, we started vibing, and I don't know how we got here, but I love the song so much.
Obviously, Wood is a very fun, silly, tongue-in-cheek song, but below the surface, there is so much meaning and depth and references and unafraid to reference or not reference.
Totally unique, completely not ever been done before, unafraid to reference or not reference.
But there is just so much lore and meat and, connections to her previous work, which as a lifelong fan, I feel so excited and proud and honored to sit here and explain to all of you. So personally, I love both sides of this song, the Sabrina Carpenter-esque wordplay, but also this beautiful message about finding something so secure that luck and superstition, something she had relied on and written about her entire career, no longer plagues her. So in case you are unfamiliar with the long-spanning relationship between Taylor and luck, I would like to begin by reading a poem from the Reputation era. If you're anything like me, you knock on wood every time you make plans. You cross your fingers, hold your breath, wish on lucky numbers and eyelashes. Your superstitions were the lone survivors of the shipwreck. Rest in peace to your naive bravado. If life gets too good now, darling, it scares you. Now, I'll get to many more examples, but I just think that so perfectly sets the scene for how luck and superstition has guided Taylor through a lot of her life. We've also heard her talk about this in interviews.
Hey, well, I have this really lucky number, 13. I was born on the 13th, and we've talked about all the million ways that 13 kind of presents itself when good things are about to happen. Sort of like a good omen.
We have an artist at work. My mom is the only one who's ever been entrusted to draw on my 13th. Considering the time you've taken away from the craft, you really just jumped right back in and excelling. I did it. Yeah, it's the 13th show of the Reputation Stadium Tour.
I was born on the 13th. I turned 13 on Friday the 13th. My first album went gold in 13 weeks. Also, Thanks. My first song that ever went #1, it had a 13-second intro.
Have it with me all the time for good luck.
Look, this is my lucky number 13, and I put it on the door. My drummer put a 13 on his drum head.
Don't fall is important.
Yeah.
And Taylor spoke about putting her faith in superstition as recently as the Tortured Poets Department. For those of you out there that read the prologue, which I know is most of you because you are big brain Swifties, she said, tried wishing on comets, tried dimming the shine, tried to orbit his planet, some stars never align. In many ways, I think we can look at luck and superstition in the same way that we look at faith and religion. They offer guidance and comfort and something to turn to in times of crisis or uncertainty. I think maybe it feels quite, comforting to think that maybe everything in this life is not totally within my control and I don't have to be behind the wheel for all of it. Either, Jesus take the wheel, maybe God has a bigger plan out there and he's looking out for that, or luck and superstition will find their way, steering the ship for me. After this video, go and look at songs like Guilty as Sin and Would've, Could've, Should've. There's some stuff there. But I think about I Hate It Here and how jaded she felt at that point. What is it? If something is a construct, I don't believe in good luck. Or obviously we can consider The Prophecy, pleading with the universe and fate to change the way things out of our control have been written. That entire song feels like she just believes she is doomed. By the time we get to The Life of a Showgirl, between songs like Opalite, about making your own luck, and Wood, she doesn't really care anymore. So let's get into these lyrics. Daisy's bare naked, I was distraught, he loves me not, he loves me not. So we open this with such a great visual. We are plucking daisies. If you didn't know, this was something done to kind of ask the universe if someone loves you.
She loves me not. She loves me.
Which the very fact that you are doing this implies there is uncertainty. You don't know how they feel because you're asking a flower. However, it is also a callback to You're on Your Own, Kid.
I picked the petals, he loves me not.
So here, the daisy being naked means essentially all of the petals are gone. It's empty and we can assume she did not get the answer she was looking for. So at the beginning of our song, we are looking to external factors and superstitions for validation because we're not getting it from the person that we're with. To quote an Australian icon, now speaking of coins, Penny's unlucky, I took him back, then I stepped on a crack, and the black cat laughed. Oh wow, it really doesn't work in my accent. Her next attempt at using luck to find love, a lucky penny, also did not work.
See a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck.
AKA, she took someone back from her past, thinking, wow, this lucky penny that was out in the world has found its way back to me. Yet as we know, it still didn't work out.
Roaring 20s, tossing pennies in the pool. Pennies unlucky, I took him back.
And the black cat laughed. I think just the entire world mocked her, whether that is the general public or luck itself laughed.
High-fived my ex.
So the double entendre here obviously is that the way the lyrics are written and also just the way you read it, Daisy being bare naked, Penny being unlucky, the way these are capitalized and have apostrophes, they are also women. So it's kind of representing like these women that are unlucky in love. And baby, I'll admit I've been a little superstitious. Fingers crossed until you put your hand on mine. I love this for two reasons. Crossing your fingers, as we know from the Charli song discussed earlier, is to make a wish about something or to kind of hide that you're lying. So after he arrived, she could stop wishing. But also as a highly anxious girly, I get the vision of like being jittery and then someone putting their hand on yours to sort of calm you down, just to put you at ease. And again, that kind of parallels the Maisie Peters lyric in one of her new songs. My hands were always clenching until I held yours and you held them back. Again, it just kind of represents a sense of either loneliness or stress that was eased when someone else came into your life. A bad sign is all good. I ain't gotta knock on wood. All of these uncertainties, these lucky pennies I had to use, these daisies I had to pluck, these gods I prayed to in the past, it's irrelevant now because I'm sure about us. Even on a deeper level than that, I think it's acknowledging I actually don't need to rely on luck anymore because like we see in Opalite, you make your own luck, you make your own sunshine. I ain't gotta knock on wood, which will be her 5th Grammy Album of the Year win. Let me just touch some wood. I don't want to jinx anyone. And here to me is a perfect example of the double meaning. She doesn't need to rely on luck or these superstitions anymore because she feels secure in the relationship. And as she has said in Opalite, you make your own happiness, you make your own sunshine. But also, she no longer needs luck because she's getting lucky. All of that bitchin', wishin' on a falling star. Here is where I would like to show you even more examples and my personal favorites in her music that relate to this and that have laid laid the groundwork many, many years ago. First, let's go back to all the way since the start of her career on her debut album.
The only thing that keeps me wishing on a wishing star.
I do also wonder if Falling Star is kind of a nod to star as in the Hollywood kind of star, like someone that's trying to make it in the industry but kind of falling a bit short. However, it goes back even further than that. Taylor's unreleased song Cross My Heart, written at age 13, talked about needing the help of luck, the universe, and superstition. She, like me, has been knocking on wood her entire life.
Crossing all my fingers, letting my heart linger, trying to get some help from up above, knock on wood and rope the moon.
She had been knocking on wood her entire life. And then I will ask you, what was the name of the very first song she ever completed? Lucky You. I just love that this has been an ever-present theme throughout her music.
Throwing pennies at the fountain, but when you're standing on a mountain, and I guess I wished on a plane I thought was a star.
Once you meet the person that is meant to be in your life, luck doesn't matter anymore because you have effort and mutual respect. Also, in the announcement video on her podcast-in-law, New Heights, there was a little Pinocchio figurine which served as an Easter egg for two different reasons. Obviously, Pinocchio involved wood that grew, but I also think there is a connection there to the song When You Wish Upon a Star, which was made famous by that film. Also on the theme of like luck and superstition and chance, one of the women that Taylor had talked about Travis and the idea of meeting with him, did a tarot card reading for her, which I just think is like a really fun little tie-in.
But yeah, I did pull a card for her because, well, I had told Gigi that I thought that they should date.
Yeah, her and Travis.
So I told Gigi and I told her, I was like, come on, even if it's just for fun, this is before they had actually met.
They hadn't even talked yet.
So I pulled this card for her and I don't exactly remember which deck it was, but I remember that it was kind of in regards to this, and the word swiftly was in the reading. She said she had never had a tarot card reading before, which I thought was interesting.
She loves cats.
I think it's a good match.
It's a good match. You were and
right.
Cards don't lie.
Then it's You and Me Forever Dancing in the Dark. Obviously a bedroom activity, but also a cute nod to one of Taylor's favorite singers and songs by him. Again, the I ain't gotta knock on wood just emphasizes she's done with uncertainty. She's no longer in a relationship that makes her question or wonder. The fact that not only did we get It's Kind of Making Me Wet with an exclamation from her in Actually Romantic, but also blankmatize me in this song is just so funny to me. I mean, there's redwood tree, it ain't hard to see. So obviously this is a double entendre, but it's true as well. If you didn't know, a redwood tree is huge and one of the biggest trees, if not the biggest trees in the world. They are crazy big, especially when you compare that to the smallest man who ever lived. You didn't measure up in any measure of a man. I also just love the little addition of it ain't hard to see, like kind of saying our love is obvious, our connection is obvious. People told Taylor you've never been this yourself, but also like it's a redwood tree. It is easy to spot. That thing is visible from space.
Do I need that much detail? Specifically about my brother-in-law? Probably not, but also 1,000% yes, that's women supporting women. Proud of ya.
Bowen Yang met Taylor and Travis on SNL and then talked about it on Las Culturistas and called them together a redwood forest.
I see two people talking to two tall people.
You said tallest people in the world.
Tallest people in the world. I see them together. I go,
oh no.
I'm in the redwood forest.
So I wonder if that played any role in inspiring her, but also this tweet comparing like Taylor and Ariana lyricism. We can also look at previous examples of nature references in Taylor's discography. He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsman. That lyric was highlighting the incompatibility of two people, right? A hothouse flower needs very specific conditions. It needs to be indoors with just the right temperature. It can't really be spontaneous out and about, thriving in the wild. Essentially, it's hidden away out of the sun. Compared to an outdoorsman, loves to be out and about and would thrive in a redwood forest. Obviously, I know a lot of people don't appreciate this song and find it tacky or just don't like this kind of wordplay from Taylor. Personally, most of you already know this, so I apologize anytime I repeat myself, but I actually really enjoy this kind of song and prefer a song like this or House Tour from Sabrina, where the wordplay is disguised. A kid could hear either of those songs and not really know what it's about. Maybe besides his love was the key that opened my thighs. That's the line I can't get over. But those songs compared to other songs about this same topic, They're just two different styles. Interestingly, this is my best friend's least favorite song on the album. And I was like, that's so funny because her favorite is my least favorite. But we were talking about the fact that I think a good decent chunk of the hate that this song gets is purely because of the expectations we have for Taylor, or the box we've put her in. I think if you have an idea or experience or view of someone and then they go and do something misaligned from that idea, it could feel wrong. And obviously Taylor came up kind of as this Christian girl who wanted to be a good role model. She was a country artist.
Overall, the main thing that I always tried to be was like a good girl.
That is a lot more traditional, I guess I would say. Even when she was of age, she wasn't singing about partying and drinking, but rather was raised to be like a good girl and a role model, and very much stuck by that. So I wonder if that contributes to people feeling uncomfortable about this song. Whereas for the most part, we love and accept songs like this from Sabrina.
Like bigger than Zeus's. I'll never enter with the back door.
Or from Ariana.
I like the way you lick the ball. You know how to treat it. You know how to eat it. Baby, you might need a seatbelt when I ride it. I'ma leave it open like a door. Come inside it. Fuck me till the daylight. Yeah. Means I want a 69 legit. You got me walking side to side. Wrist icicle, ride deck bicycle.
Even one of the greats, I think about If You Seek Amy by Britney Spears, the exact same concept, I guess without the added double layer of depth about the relationship. It's really more just like the innuendo of the title.
If you seek Amy.
Which also produced by Max Martin, mind you. Again, this kind of thing is always going to be personal preference, but I do just think the response to this song and the reason that is given does not always apply to other songs with the same kind of lyrics or much more explicit lyrics from other artists. For Taylor to write, "Girls, I don't need to catch the bouquet to know a hard rock is on the way," 1 year into her relationship is a huge deal, especially after a 6-long-year relationship that still did not end in any kind of commitment, but rather songs like Tolerate It and You're Losing Me.
When I said I don't believe in marriage, that was a lie.
And again, like I said, the fact that twice on Tortured Poets Department, she sang about wanting marriage and it being taken away from her, she's still not afraid to mention here that she knows is going to happen, because that is the kind of confidence and security they have in this relationship. You know, there's no more picking daisies, she knows. Then we have the line that I think truly gagged me the most in my reaction. "The curse on me was broken by your magic wand."
You're watching Disney Channel.
And here she is quite literally referring to the curse mentioned in the prophecy. "Seems to be that you and me, we make our own luck. Again, oh polite baby, it is man-made. These things are no longer up to the universe. New heights of manhood." Now, I simply wish I could be in the room where it happens. The room with all of her friends, or Travis, or Kylie, or Jason, or her mum when they heard this song for the first time.
Really, I'm not trying to be a prude here, but if I'm the mom of a 10-year-old girl in the audience, there were just a couple of moves there that I would be like,
no, you're right, you're
looking at that.
Once again, to go from you couldn't measure up in any measure of a man to new heights of manhood. Congrats, girl.
Good job, Trav! That's it!
Overall, I just think this song is the most fun and carefree way that Taylor has ever written about sex. Obviously, it's a theme that exists on the latter half of her discography, but in a lot of instances, there are other complications wrapped up in it, whether that's religion or guilt, or even they're just used in a really sexy way, but this is the first time she's really like having fun with it, which I think not only shows a deep sense of comfort, trust, and intimacy, but also that notion of having found a best friend who you think is hot. I personally don't think if she had written this song about any of her previous partners, I don't think they would be able to laugh and love this song. Whereas you just know Travis had the biggest smile on his face hearing this song for the first time, and she had a smile on her face making it. So ultimately, again, after the album of poetic genius but a whole lot of sadness that was the Tortured Poets Department, it's beautiful to see Taylor in such a happy and carefree time in her life. It is truly what she has always deserved. Also, I didn't really get into it here because I talked a lot about this in my tier ranking, but obviously the sounds of this song, just perfection. Like, as a Motown loving girly, this was always going to do it for me. Well, I'm going to go take a small break, but I will be right back to discuss track 10, Cancelled. Cancelled might be the most misunderstood song on this album, but it was also recently revealed to be Aaron Dessner's favorite, which I find really interesting.
Aaron, can I ask if you had a favorite off of The Life of a Showgirl?
Probably Canceled.
I love Canceled.
To me, this song is grouped in with songs like Blank Space, The Lucky One, Elizabeth Taylor, etc. Narratives that are critical of the industry, but more specifically also of the patriarchy, like Cassandra, Mad Woman, or even The Man. I know people have taken this song to mean that Taylor is like celebrating that her friends are cancelled or that she wants that, and I understand how you could find that perspective because those are kind of the literal lyrics, but I think one issue people are running into is not realizing that this song is satirical. For example, she doesn't actually want poisoned, thorny flowers. She's looking at a fellow woman and saying, I see how the world is trying to paint you out to be this villainous person, this villainous character. Well, I've been there. I've seen how they can turn you into this monster based on absolutely no evidence of merit, so I will stand by you no matter what because I understand. For example, Elizabeth Taylor once said, you find out who your real friends are when you're involved in a scandal. And I think quite literally no one alive today knows that sentiment better than Taylor.
I guess when I see someone else going through like a press thing, like if someone's like beating up on someone in the press, I just like immediately get really sad. Like that's because I know that's probably like blown out of proportion. Yeah. You have to be in touch with the fact that like the media kind of fictionalizes things, and you just have to be happy in your own life and know your version of events, which is the only thing that matters anyway. It's like all these things you have to learn after kind of learning lessons the hard way. Like you can't read blog comments. You can't read I just have to, I have to focus really hard on living in a real world.
When she was cancelled universally in 2016, friends that had stood by her just slowly dropped away like flies because it was harmful to their own image and reputation to be associated with her. And I think a lot of people assumed that Taylor would do the same to Blake, whereas in reality, she wrote this song. So while I do think there are a lot of personal ties to Blake and Taylor's experiences here, I think this is a very universal song. I know people say this is very unrelatable, and in many ways, in the specifics, yes, it is, but it is just a commentary on like the broader society and how we operate, and in particular how we cancel women for either the most mundane or even non-existent things, whilst at the very same time men who have done or are doing things that I literally cannot even speak about on YouTube continue to have their jobs and prosper. One example I could give is Chris Brown, who is, you know, selling out his world tour every night, crowds of people supporting him, whereas people said Taylor Swift is a disgusting human being for wearing heels out to dinner with Sabrina Carpenter, her friend who is shorter than her. I actually think the greatest example of this is recently a poll was taken for the most hated person of 2025, and Meghan Markle was ranked higher than people like P. Diddy, Bill Cosby, Kanye West, and Prince Andrew. Men who are sexual offenders and worse. More hated than all of them is a woman who is deemed annoying or unlikable. Personally, I saw so much more backlash over Taylor selling a lightning bolt themed opalite necklace than Kanye West selling literal merch. And then even today, I don't know if I can speak into specifics around the Blake Justin Baldoni sexual harassment case because A, it's ongoing, and B, I don't want to get into any kind of legal trouble, but in circumstances where we see a man who has been accused by multiple women on multiple occasions of sexual misconduct, and even then the comments are filled with, she's so annoying, she was asking for it, where's the proof? She's just angry he didn't like her back. Just keep that in mind when you listen to this song. Also, one of my favorite things about this song is that sonically it is very rep coded. If you couldn't see, I've worn some of my snake rings today. I don't know if people realize just how powerful the court of public opinion and the media can be. Once you are deemed a villain in their eyes, there is not much you can do to shake it. So I think the response in this song is kind of Taylor saying, well, the way that I got through that in that Reputation era was by me kind of accepting this image they had painted me out to be, just rolling with it and playing that character. Much like Olive Pendergast, if rumors or lies are being spread about you and you are unable to change people's minds, might as well embrace it.
People thought I was a dirty skank? Fine. I'd be the dirtiest skank they'd ever seen.
Or an even more recent example, Miss Elphaba Throp. Wicked honestly is such a great example for young minds about the power of propaganda, because obviously we are seeing it having heard the narrative of The Wizard of Oz and then seeing Elphaba and Glinda at school, understanding what Elphaba's motives were, her wanting to help the animals and save and free others. Yet it was better for those in power for her to be painted as a villain. By Act 2 or even The Wizard of Oz, we see how that comes to be. And I mean, if you've read Sunrise on the Reaping or or literally any of the books that we study in school, we have these examples of how propaganda works. And yet I do still think that we can fall victim to it even as adults. For example, there are a lot of instances where people have either made assumptions or believed fake news and purposefully targeted PR spins. Honestly, that's natural. Like, we are used to being able to believe what we can see with our own eyes. Don't even get me started on AI and things like that.
Babe, they're AI.
They're
not
so
real.
Crazy.
They're not real.
But in today's day and age, it is really important now to question things. I just want to give a bit of backstory for this song. I'm sure most of you know about this, but in 2016, Taylor was cancelled to, quote, within an inch of her life because of a lie and an edited video. Only when the full video leaked was it revealed that Taylor had been telling the truth the entire time. But by then, the damage was done. The entire world had turned their backs against her for this fake story. Something that, yet again, cannot be said for Kanye West when either A, he released a revenge porn video of Taylor that is still up to this day, or B, his Nazi merch. The public responded 100 times worse to incorrectly believing that a singer had told a lie than to any of these other things that men have done. Another instance I think of is around 6 or 7 years ago. Taylor was publicly called out for not having posted a tweet in support of Kesha during her battle with Dr. Luke. Taylor didn't respond to this, and later it was revealed that she had already reached out to Kesha privately and was not only paying for her lawyers but also all damages that Kesha was ordered to pay, which would have bankrupted her. Now, obviously, Taylor has been through her own sexual harassment case. She knows this feeling. She donates to these causes. So even back then, with the context clues that we know, that assumption made no sense to make. Just because you don't have proof of something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. During the Eras tour, when horrific things happened, Taylor was yet again called out and cancelled for not speaking up enough about what had happened because she didn't make a social media post about it, which I don't feel like I have to tell any of you guys that social media is not anything. You can choose to use it or not use it or anywhere in the middle, but like, we know that Taylor does not use that to share her thoughts. She uses it strictly for business now because of how crazy people are and how her words get twisted. Instead, Taylor chose to reach out to the families, spend time with them, invite them to her show, speak to them one-on-one on a human level, and then tried to put on a brave face and perform as usual for everyone else so as not to let her fans down. All the while, obviously being deeply impacted by something that had happened that was not her fault, but you would presumably feel responsible for. And again, I know that none of you guys needed to see the docuseries to believe that, and even if that hadn't come out, we would know that that would be the case, but it's just, I honestly don't know how she has so much grace to be misunderstood constantly, and purposefully misunderstood, I believe. Unfortunately, I do think some people will always jump to the absolute worst conclusion just because they don't like the idea of who they think someone is. And now I feel like this is only getting worse. We are in such a time of fake news, of misinformation and shit posting and memes and rage bait and worse.
Every joke's just trolling and memes, sad as it seems, apathy is hard.
To the point where people that I believe to be intelligent were being convinced that Taylor Swift is secretly MAGA.
It was not too long ago when Trump's campaign posted an AI-generated image of Taylor Swift and a false endorsement for Donald Trump. That was posted on Donald Trump's website. Also in that post, Heather, Taylor Swift said that she wanted to come out and be transparent to her fans because of the AI-generated images that are floating around there and the misinformation, to be transparent about who her choice was come election day.
She also used her endorsement on Instagram to take a jab at Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance, signing the post "Childless Cat Lady."
So this isn't the first time that Taylor Swift has entered the political fray. Back in 2020, she did endorse Biden and Harris, so this isn't a huge surprise. Trump was asked about Taylor's endorsement. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. She's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it at in the marketplace.
Unfortunately, I do think the attention span of younger generations, maybe they need to be constantly reminded of something for that information to like feel true. I don't know if any of you guys read a series of Unfortunate Events books as kids, but when the Baudelaire children were trying to convince everyone that Count Olaf was a villainous person and was evil and doing bad things, and yet all of the grown-ups in that world were falling for this propaganda and lies, and you're just sitting there as a kid reading this thinking, how could those adults adults be so blind as to what is going on and just believing this information even though it isn't true. And I feel like that every day on the internet now. Anyway, once again, I'm not here to convince anyone to like this song. If you have seen my tier ranking, you know where it falls for me. But I just think even though there are specific references that definitely don't necessarily relate to us, this song overall is a commentary of the world that we live in. And it can even apply to our own friendship. We will be presented with opportunities, whether with a best friend, a partner, or anyone in between. Maybe you question someone's behavior and you can either choose to believe the best or believe the worst in them. If you have all of this prior information that proves them to be this certain kind of person, why would you not choose to believe that in this instance too? And I think as we are consuming real news, pop culture news, we sadly do have to take everything these days with a grain of salt. I think I only realized the degree that this extends to in the past year, but the power of a good PR firm can really work wonders for someone. I'll be the first to admit that I have definitely been swindled and fallen for PR spins in the past. I think the most powerful thing that they have the ability to do is make us believe that we are truly thinking for ourselves and that other people have come to this conclusion themselves, therefore reinforcing the ideas that we think we're having. While I won't go into specifics around any of the legal things going on today because I just don't know if I'm allowed to, I will share that Justin Baldoni's PR manager, who specializes in crisis management, previously represented Johnny Depp. So on that note, let's get into this song. So like I said, this is really a sister song to me of songs like Mad Woman, Cassandra, The Man, and even also I Did Something Bad, especially when we look at the dramatic theatrical themes, sonic landscape of the song, and also kind of playing into this villainous character. And again, obviously all roads tie back to The Man with my favorite lyric, when everyone believes you, what's that like? I think the opening line is very powerful too. We start with, you thought that it would be okay at first, the situation could be saved. Of course, because it highlights the kind of innocent and maybe even naive perspective of someone in this position. You know the truth, so you assume, well, obviously no one's gonna fall for that lie, especially if I share my side of the story, which is what actually happened, and yet they already have. And this also mirrors real headlines, which is something I think Taylor weaves throughout this entire song. We had the Blake Lively backlash is in full swing, but she can still save her reputation.
The situation could be saved, of course.
Leading into, but they've already picked out your grave and hearse. Unfortunately, in the eyes of the people, it is just simply too little too late. Justin's own PR team in the leaked messages said, you know we can bury anyone. Beware the wrath of masked crusaders. We know about these people. It's the Sarahs and Hannahs. The village people with their pitchforks. Actually, not the village people. The village people would absolutely not be judging you. It is the townspeople and those that are either blindly accepting a story or worse, helping to perpetuate it. And the fact that they're masked, they're not saying this and putting their own reputation or face out there on the line. They are hiding their own identity, benefiting from the same privacy that they don't afford to Taylor. Did you girl boss too close to the sun? So we have another quote here. In January of 2025, Candace Owens described Blake's ongoing legal battle, and she captioned it, girl bosses flew too close to the sun.
This story is going to be remembered as girl boss flew too close to the sun.
I also said this in an Instagram story about Taylor in 2021. Did she see my story? Who knows? This also reminds me of the Rep Tour intro. If you guys remember, Taylor collected negative press and speculation and things being said about her and collated that into an intro.
All this drama is
Which was just so iconic and plays into this character that she was kind of stepping into the role of. Did they catch you having far too much fun? Again, just makes me think of any tabloid headline that uses emotive language and really blows any situation far out of proportion. You can think about this the next time you are at a grocery store or a library or seeing magazines and things. Obviously, it's true for online headlines too, but I can just picture one that would be like, Hilary Duff flaunts post-baby body at the beach. And it's like, is she flaunting something or is she just having a swim with her kids, you know?
Paparazzi got a picture and they were like, Hillary debuts post-baby bod. And I was like, babe, I'm not debuting anything. You're taking a picture of me at a private house when I think I'm with my family and my baby. And like, it's horrendous.
We can really be conscious of the language being used and understand what kind of story are they trying to make me believe here. Again, anytime I see a headline written about Meghan Markle and it's just something that any woman would do, the tactics they're using is just so clear. And that's a special kind of misogyny that she gets because they throw in a little bit of racism as well. But if you have an understanding of like who owns this publication, what emotive language language are they using here? What story are they trying to push? It becomes genuinely laughable. And yet, people fall for this kind of thing every day. Another example I think of just how even a picture can tell a story that isn't necessarily true. I was gonna say The Greatest Showman when Jenny Lind kisses him and he like pushes her off, but it's too late. But it's funny because in that, the picture that's taken is like a drawing. Not to defend a second man here, but in Gone Girl, when the husband kind of just probably out of habit, when a camera is shoved in your face, tries to put a smile on, and then it looks like, why is this freak smiling when his wife is missing? Now he looks suspicious. He's not the reason for her disappearance, but that picture kind of tells a different story.
You're doing that thing again where you take everything I say out of context. You're trying to make it look like I think Coolsville sucks. No, don't record that.
All Fred Jones had to say was,
I think Coolsville sucks.
Did they catch you having far too much fun? I can also just see being used against a woman that is like maybe a mother that has gone out with friends who would then be painted as neglectful or drunk or a terrible mother. Even think about the song that Taylor wrote when she was 22 years old, Nothing New. They tell you while you're young, girls go out and have your fun, then they hunt and slay the ones who actually do it. That ties so beautifully into this song. And then this verse ends with, something wicked this way comes. So Taylor here is referencing Shakespeare for, I want to say, the third time in her career, after Love Story and Ophelia, of course.
You're a fan of Shakespeare.
More than a fan. We're involved.
I'm sure I've forgotten another one. I feel like there must be one on Tortured Poets Department. And even though I did a full deep dive into all of the different poets referenced on that album, I have no memory of it, but Something Wicked This Way Comes is also from Macbeth, like Ophelia, and is said by the three witches. So to me, not only is that phrase fantastically fitting for the theme here, but also to quote something as historical as Shakespeare shows you just how widespread and long-lasting this issue has been. What a juxtaposition it is to have Shakespeare on a song with such modern terminology, like cancelled. To me, that exemplifies just how long this treatment of women has gone on. And this is, of course, not Taylor's first nod to witches.
they're burning all the witches, even if you aren't one. Women like take witches too, doing your dirtiest work.
So to me, the chorus is where we see the more specific references to the woman or women in her life. However, saying, good thing I like my friends cancelled, Taylor is not actually saying, I want my friends cancelled and I also want to be cancelled. She is looking out to these fellow women and saying, hey, if you have been unfairly misjudged by the court of public opinion, I've been there, I know how you feel, and I'm here for you. That's just one more thing we have in common, babe.
Anytime like people get backlash, I tend to get to be the person they reach out to. I definitely judge people a lot less now that I've been under the microscope for so long. I just judge people based on who I know them to be, their actions.
I liked them cloaked in Gucci and in Scandal. Again, to me, this just paints a picture of this female character like in Blank Space. But more specifically, Blake has done campaigns with Gucci and she also owns an alcohol company that sells whiskey sours. Poison Thorny Flowers does in fact also remind me of Blank Space. And then at least you know exactly who your friends are. Times like this will reveal the true friends in your life, the ones that really care. And again, this is not just something that applies to famous women. This is an experience that pretty much all of us could go through in high school, middle school, elementary school, primary school. If given the chance, would you stand by your friend or would you believe what everyone else is saying about them?
Honestly, we all have a public life now. We all are mandating our
Social
relationship
medias
with
and things
social media and social circles and gossip.
Verse 2 really talks about how if you put just one single toe out of line, a line decided by, again, the general public, that admiration and respect and adoration that we had given you will be revoked overnight. We saw this with Taylor. We saw this with Jennifer Lawrence, with Chappell Roan, Rachel Ziegler, even Sabrina to a degree when Olivia Rodrigo's music came out.
Took somebody's man, we'll take you by the hand.
It's almost inevitable if you are a woman and you reach a certain level of success, there is only so far you can climb before people start to say, there's just something I don't like about her. And they're kind of waiting for a moment to say, yep, I knew it. I knew she was bad.
You could tweet the word hello, but then somebody could be like,
passive aggressive.
Why is she saying hello?
Petty. Why
Yeah.
did she do that?
Yeah.
Why is she greeting us?
Yeah.
Who is she greeting?
Yeah.
She greeted us too soon.
She greeted us too late.
Yeah.
She greeted us with a weird undertone.
I had a choice between two, and I picked this one because I liked the lyrics, and I liked that it was sort of about feeling like you were on top of the world and people were cheering for you, people were kind of like rooting for you, and then you make a mistake or you do something and it feels like, oh no, I've let them all down. I appreciated singing that with her too, because obviously she's been through many seasons of that, of people hating her and then loving her and hating her again. And I think the court of public opinion is like an overwhelming, I mean, oppressive kind of feeling, but also it gets swayed back and forth. It changes so quickly.
We don't want to be condemned for being multifaceted. We're like, sorry, was I loud in my own house that I bought with the songs that I wrote about my own life?
Maybe the thesis statement to me is, did you make a joke only a man could? As Taylor has said, there are different rules for men and women in this industry.
A man does something, it's strategic. A woman does the same thing, it's calculated. A man is allowed to react. A woman can only overreact.
But again, that's not just an industry thing. That applies to women everywhere. And like, were you just too smug for your own good? The line, a tiny violin to a knife fight, is so funny now that we know that was an actual text sent. I will never forget how funny it is that people were predicting Ruin the Friendship would be about Blake, when in reality, she was writing a song saying like, I'm loyal, I will stand by my friends, I know that you are being mistreated, to the point where in these Showgirl shoots, she maybe even had some of Blake's own jewelry on. That could literally be Blake's or mere coincidence. It is simply my job doing a deep dive to point these things out for you. It is also my job to tell you that she is Coach Bolton's sister-in-law. I don't know if any of you guys knew that, but shout out to him. Now, the bridge. They stood by me before my exoneration. They believed I was innocent, so I'm not here for judgment. Once again, she's saying, my real friends stood by me when the rest of the world turned their backs. These are my ride or die girls.
I was surrounded by friends and family and loved ones who never loved me less based on the fluctuations of public opinion. One of those people is my date tonight. Her name is Claire. She's very pregnant. So this is her son's first award show.
I also just love the use of the word innocent, because obviously that calls back to the song she wrote about Kanye, kind of forgiving him for what he had done to her as a teenager on that stage.
You're still an innocent.
Before he then went and did the next crazy thing to her. It also is like courtroom terminology, same with exoneration and judgment, which I do believe ties back into this court case, but is also kind of a commentary on how we, the people that do not know these celebrities, feel entitled and feel that we know enough information to like make our own judgment. For example, when this whole Blake thing started happening, or even when Taylor and Joe broke up, or any of these big events have happened, I am inundated with requests to give my opinion on them, and I just very rarely ever feel like I have enough information to make a judgment on someone else's life in that way. Even when I do deep dives on these songs, this is obviously just my interpretation. I could be way off, and I'm not claiming for any of this to be fact, but rather just my own personal thoughts based on my experience walking through the world, you know? So by using those legal terms, I think it is really emphasizing that we make these big bold claims that do in fact alter people's lives, yet don't actually have all the details. Now, of course, my favorite line in this song is in the, is it the outro or just the chorus that's repeated at the end with a change? And that is, now they've broken you like they've broken me, but a shattered glass is a lot more sharp.
But a shattered glass is a lot more sharp.
I just think that is one of those like gold star Taylor Swift lyrics that, you know, she probably had written down in her notes app, because it is so beautiful. It's a reference to how we go through the world naively until we are broken bit by bit, death by 1,000 cuts, if you will, and we are hardened by each experience. I think there's a song that Sabrina put out last year about wishing someone could get the more innocent, youthful, happy, unjaded version of her. But by living through these experiences, we learn, we grow, we change, and we become a bit more, I don't want to believe hardened is the correct word, but we are forever changed, and maybe we are a little less trusting and a little more aware, but that also makes us a greater friend and support for those that we know are going through the same thing. Ultimately, it makes us a little bit savvier. The fact that in this final chorus, after you know who your friends are, she says, you know who we are. It's kind of an open invitation. She's saying, I stand by women that are misjudged and misunderstood, and often purposefully so, because I've been there. I get it. I know a lot of people thought this song was tone tone deaf when it came out. Tone deaf and hot, you might say. And I can definitely understand that perspective. I can hold space for that, especially because the lyrics are quite lighthearted. So if people think this is a very serious song, I can understand that in sensitive times this might seem insane. But again, my personal interpretation of this song is not that Taylor is saying accountability is bad. Much like The Man, I think it is more a commentary on these double standards that we have and incredibly high standards for women. And again, like tall poppy syndrome, we just love to cut them down. We are simply waiting for an excuse to say, I knew I never liked her. Now with the title and the spelling, obviously I talked about this a bit in my predictions video. There is in fact two spellings of cancelled. Similarly to how most of the English speaking world uses OU in words, we also use double L, whereas Americans use just O or one L. Initially, I didn't think there was too much validity to this. I didn't give it that much weight until I realized Taylor has actually used the American spelling of cancelled with just one L in the past. Just when I was editing this, the website I use for these song titles tried to Americanize me. So this is all the proof we need. Do I think this will have anything to do with British men? Not really, but I just thought that was worth paying attention to. And like I mentioned earlier, I wonder if any reflections of the Reputation era and maybe re-recording those vault tracks, I don't think we know if she has yet, but if that could have influenced this song at all. Guess in a way, this could almost be a sequel to But Daddy I Love Him, you know, being cancelled in the public's eye. And we saw it once with that like open letter that some fans wrote to Taylor during the tour, and then we saw it again as Taylor was being a supportive partner at, you know, at Travis's games. People always have something to say about her and how what she's doing with her personal life is wrong, so this could be about that. Now that we've heard the song, the capital letters and the exclamation point to me definitely do reflect like a news headline, or rather a tabloid headline, or I guess now it's probably more like a tweet. I do still really picture sort of 2000s tabloids. You know, the capitalization and extra character just adds and emphasizes the dramatics of it. I am keen to hear why you think she used two L's in the word, given that I believe the American spelling of cancelled has just one L. Yeah, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this song. I definitely understand that it's not for everyone. It's not personally one that I return to very much, but I do really appreciate the theatrical nature of it, and I do strongly agree with the message that I believe Taylor is coming from. This could all just be my own projections onto the song, but let me know what you guys think. Next up, we have Honey. What an underappreciated song this is. So Honey is a song about healing old wounds and reclaiming things that were used to hurt you in the past. I feel like this might even be one of the more relatable songs on the album. Just as you enter a new relationship, new issues will arise, but also previous triggers might come up and you have to navigate this with that person. I guess here it's almost the opposite of old triggers, because we're highlighting how the same word with different intentions can mean two completely different things. I also love about this song just that like honey is eternal. So it's kind of saying our love is forever because it never expires. So in a lot of ways, this is kind of a sister song to Call Her What You Want.
You can call me honey if you want, because I'm the one you want. So call it what you want, yeah, call it what you want to.
However, Call It What You Want, I feel like was directed at the public during a time maybe where a relationship hadn't been labeled or she wasn't comfortable to label it. Maybe there was some kind of insecurity there, whereas here I believe the song is being directed at the person, saying like, you can call me whatever you want. Now this song opens with the chorus, which is not something that Taylor does on a lot of her songs. It's also not something that I personally tend to prefer. I typically prefer to like earn my chorus, you know? Give me the storytelling first. Let's begin with the lore. We open with, you can call me honey if you want, because I'm the one you want. Now, I don't think I talked about this in my ranking, but personally, my gripe with this song is just that one line. You can call me honey if you want, because I'm the one you want. My issue is there are plenty of different men who would love to be with Taylor. That is kind of one of the main things she was shamed for, was like how many men wanted to date her and did date her. So the idea that Taylor has been chosen by this man does not feel like the special, significant part of the story here. To me, the special element is that he is who she has chosen. I feel like that is what should be emphasized, because we're kind of saying, oh, anyone who wants me can call me honey, when in reality the message is, you can call me honey because you're the one I want. Like, you're the only person I care about, therefore you are allowed to call me honey. Does that make sense? I also saw someone say that this could be a cute Grease reference. Obviously, not only does the song say you're the one that I want, we also have honey. And this is very deep, likely unnecessary lore, but Taylor once played Sandy as a kid in a production of Grease. So this could definitely be an inspiration. Then we have, when anyone called me sweetheart, it was passive aggressive at the bar. And the bitch was telling me to back off because her man had looked at me wrong. This does kind of flow in from the misogyny theme of our previous song, but it's just the age-old story of a woman blaming another woman rather than looking at her man, who is the actual issue in the situation. And I'm curious to hear from you guys, what is your opinion on Taylor using bitch throughout this album in the way that she does? If anyone called me honey, it was standing in the bathroom, white teeth. They were saying that skirt don't fit me, and I cried the whole way home. So white teeth to me is just this perfect metaphor for like brand new veneers that have been polished and whitened. So not only are the teeth fake, but maybe the smile is too. It's condescending, and maybe it goes along with that sweetie, honey kind of language that only really works in the South. Kylie Kelsey has specifically talked about this and how she doesn't like those nicknames because in Philadelphia, it definitely comes across as condescending. Also, cried the whole way home, very Dear John. But you redefined all of those blues. I don't even need to say this, but we know blue is a very prevalent theme across Taylor's previous albums.
Never seen that color blue, ocean blue eyes. My heart's been borrowed and yours has been blue. Even if it makes me blue, I blew things out of proportion. Now you're blue. Give me the blues and then purple pink skies. If you cascade ocean wave blues, come no other shade of blue.
It was sort of a color that represented a person or a relationship she was in. Obviously, blues have a connotation of sadness, of apathy, of depression, yet now that color has been completely redefined. We also get jazz blues. Obviously, I loved Summertime Spritz because that was a cute little reference to the Aperol Spritz I was drinking when I listened to Taylor's albums. And Wintergreen Kiss represents healing, but those two things together, sort of like You're on Your Own Kid, to me represent a year-round love and support. Honey, I'm Home, We Can Play House. Shout out Shania Twain reference right there. But I'm Home, We Can Play House. When you look at the previous things she's written across her album, this just is so beautiful to hear. And then Sweetie, It's Yours, Kicking Indoors, Take It to the Floor, Give Me More. The fact that she doesn't say I'm yours, but rather it's yours, feels very intimate, I will say. And when you think about the lyric video where she is in the hotel room number 87 and that bed is, much like Edward and Bella's, broken by the paint in the color of your eyes and graffiti my whole damn life. Again, what a contrast to use my best colors for your portrait and watch you tolerate it. This particular person has such a positive and uplifting impact on your life. You just want them to shine that and infiltrate it in every corner of your world. Kind of the antithesis of Gave Me the Blues and then Purple Pink Skies. It's like there's none of this back and forth moody weather and then waiting for the rainbow afterwards. It's just pure, you know, the skies opalite. To me, the bridge very much expands on her previous relationships. Much like the Tortured Poets Department prologue, we see similar outcomes by two different hands. When anyone called me late night, he was screwing around with my mind asking, what are you wearing? Too high to remember in the morning. I mean, firstly, called me late night is giving non-committal because A, like they're not there with you. You're not sharing a bed, you're not sharing that night. It's really just a booty call. They're calling you up to break you like a promise, or in this case, talk dirty and ask what she's wearing. And Too High to Remember in the Morning, I think we have plenty of drug references on the Tortured Poets Department to know who and what that is representative of.
The miracle move on drug. You smoked then 8, 7 bars of chocolate. The smoke cloud billows out his mouth. You tried to buy some pills, clean air. I still miss the smoke. You needed me, but you needed drugs more.
And when anyone called me lovely, they were finding ways not to praise me. Unfortunately, having heard Tolerate It and You're Losing Me, I think we know that kind of refers to a relationship where someone is just emotionally checked out. You know, the previous person wasn't there with you physically, they were calling you up late at night in bed. This person, whilst maybe is there physically, they are emotionally checked out of the relationship. It's also obviously deliberate that Taylor used the word lovely, which we see multiple times on this album, obviously on Actually Romantic and the title track.
It's honestly lovely. Thank you for the lovely bouquet.
But we have also heard it on previous albums, and I would argue it is almost always used with a hint of sarcasm.
It seems that I was uninvited by lovely bride. What a shame she's fucked in the head.
But you say it like you're in awe of me and you stay until the morning, honey. Again, what a beautiful, refreshing change from you said normal girls were boring, but you were gone by the morning. Also the continuation of who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay. She found someone that can. I think here in the song it does kind of mean night and morning in a literal sense, but you can also look at this as parts of life. You know, the night might be the exciting, glamorous time, but they're going to stay until the morning too, when it's more mundane, practical. You know, they're cleaning up bottles with you on New Year's Day. I mean, overall, this song is pretty straightforward. I just think it is the kind of positivity and breath of fresh air that was needed, and the kind of not only song, but also experience Taylor deserved, because to be so, you know, brutally wounded by love, as many people are, in the ways that we saw on the Tortured Poets department. I've always talked a lot about how resilient she is in the face of heartbreak and then getting back up and trying love again. And this song is what you are rewarded with for trying again, for having that bravery and saying, I'm gonna do it one more time. Even the things that we thought would leave lasting scars, again, call back to cancelled, like these words that coming out of someone else's mouth have always felt insincere or even patronizing. From the right person, it'll all make sense. Anyway, such a beautiful, light-hearted song. I wish more people appreciated this. Honey is such a jam to me, especially these instruments. And again, I know this album is kind of the exact opposite of the Tortured Poets department, so it's not what people were expecting, but we have seen this play out time and time again. Taylor changes genres and themes and will reflect what is going on in her life. I'm personally just happy to be along for the ride. Next up, we have our very last song, The Life of a Showgirl. Our title track featuring my ultimate showgirl, Sabrina Carpenter. Honestly, from the very moment that we heard this album's title, this is the exact song I was hoping we would get. It also really reminded me of sort of Showgirls with like the, you know, the nightlife, the really glamorous beauty, and then contrasted with kind of the darker elements of that world, like the rawness and the loneliness and what goes on at night after the show, you know, when you might be left alone with just your thoughts. This is kind of what I would hope for some of the looks we might get, the vibe for music videos, appearances, live performance, that kind of thing. Now, the backdrop here reminds me very much of The Lucky One from the Red Tour. Thematically, it makes a lot of sense. We have these white feathers that the dancers hold, and these are kind of like showgirl props. I will just always love this kind of industry commentary, following in the footsteps of The Lucky One and Clara Bow and The Last Great American Dynasty even. This song kind of speaks to the cyclical nature of showgirls. Again, much like Clara Bow, we have Taylor representing our young fan, looking up to a showgirl whose life she would love to emulate. And I was talking to some friends about this song and realized we all have completely different understandings of the conversation that is happening throughout this song. So I'll get to that in a minute and explain my personal perspective. But we open with, her name was Kitty, made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her the keys to this city. Then they said she didn't do it legitly. Already this just paints such a vivid picture of our showgirl. Kitty, by the way, if you didn't know, is Andrea's dog. We got a little nod to this in the Fate of Ophelia music video with Marjorie's surname, aka Andrea's maiden name, added to the end.
It says starring Kitty Finley, and there's a fictional character named Kitty in The Life of a Showgirl, the song, that's just this character who you meet, she's up on stage, you realize, I want to do what she's doing. She inspires you, and then when you meet her, she warns you against doing it. It's also the name of my mom's Great Dane.
She's the right age, and this marriage took place in Norfolk, Virginia, where Patricia...
But, Kitty? No. Can you get your dog?
It's actually my cancer donor. After I found that out, I decided to do something I'd always wanted to do, which was get a really big dog.
Which to me just feels so beautiful, because obviously Taylor's grandmother, Andrea's mum, Marjorie, was a showgirl in her own right, and her legacy is kind of forever cemented by, you know, her voice was part of the Eras tour. It is forever on a Taylor Swift song. And whilst Taylor was young when Marjorie passed away, that journey that we see play out here is still the same. The descriptors of pretty and witty feel so specifically Sabrina coded as well, but obviously this goes for pretty much all showgirls. I doubt that they would have the success they have if you didn't embody both of these things. You can have talent out the wazoo, but if you don't fit the narrow mold of what the current beauty standard is, or if you don't have the temperament and mindset, I don't think you can climb quite as high. And Taylor has specifically said that Sabrina was like basically bred for this job. She's just perfect for it.
The first thought I had was Sabrina Carpenter.
Quintessential showgirl.
Yes.
She is such a funny person. She is so tough in the right ways and soft and vulnerable in the right ways, to be an artist that is dealing with the kind of just absolute mayhem that gets kind of these artists get subjected to.
She's so smart. She knows exactly how to entertain people in the way that they want in the moment that she's in.
So on the note of they gave her the keys to the city, if you didn't know, that is an actual thing that cities do. Taylor was given the keys to New Orleans during the Eras tour. Shout out NOLA, love you guys.
To award Taylor Swift with not only a key to the city, but just showing the real love that only the city of New Orleans can produce and provide. And so we're very excited about that.
But also I think of the 1989 era when she was appointed like tourism ambassador, I think, of New York, kind of right before the world pulled the rug out from underneath her and said that she didn't do it legitly. Unfortunately, that line also makes me think of, I don't know if I can say the word fans, but people who after this album came out claimed that Joe actually wrote all of Folklore and Taylor didn't pull her weight, and just giving a man credit for something that Taylor earned. Obviously the kitty in this song is a fictionalized character, maybe representing multiple different showgirls, but I do just want to point out some parallels to Britney Spears. For example, when we think of showgirls, we think Vegas. Britney had a residency there and was literally given the keys to the city. Then later, the public crucified her. Funnily enough, in 2003, during her Oops, I Did It Again tour, a member of Britney's team approached her backstage and said, "A young girl is here and she wants to meet you and sing for you." And that little girl was 13-year-old Taylor Swift. Now, one huge difference between Britney's upbringing and sort of launch into the spotlight and career compared to Taylor's experience, I would say, is the absence or presence of a supportive family. Obviously, that just makes all the difference at the end of the day, whether you have an absent family or a too present family that is taking advantage of you compared to one that is healthy, loves you, and just wants to help you succeed, but never at the expense of your own health. Obviously, there are also parallels like Britney's song Lucky and Taylor's The Lucky One. Not to mention, Max Martin made all of those hits with Britney, now also working with Taylor again. In her music video for Every Time, we see a showgirl, unhappy, ending her night in the tub, though in a very different way to Taylor in Ophelia. And I will say, Sabrina in her Fast Times music video has always reminded me of Britney as well. Now, obviously, I don't think that Britney is necessarily the muse for this song. I think kind of the entire point of it is that, like Clara Bow, this is cyclical. It has happened time and time again and will likely continue to happen. This applies to all showgirls throughout the ages. Then we have Taylor as this young fan looking up to our showgirl and going to see her perform. I bought a ticket. She's dancing in her garters and fishnets. 50 in the cast, 0 missteps. Looking back, I guess it was kismet. Again, I just love the imagery of this, like the garters and fishnets. So showgirl, so Vegas. Actually, it was so nice of her to give me a second shout out on this album because that is exactly what I wore to the Eras tour. The first reference to me obviously was fat ass with a baby face, but I especially love 50 in the cast, 0 missteps. I love firstly the complete opposite and dichotomy of those numbers, like 50 or 0. But again, it just paints this picture. I don't know about you guys, but personally I pictured the Rockettes, like a huge cast doing moves that are designed to be precise and symmetrical, and they simply never make a mistake. There were 50 in that cast, and out of all 50 of them, not a single one made an error. Again, obviously we saw this represented on the Eras tour. Also, shout out to the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. They put in a lot of work, and every time I watch, I think maybe I could do that too. They make it look too easy. I just love the emphasis on how much work has obviously gone in to making this routine perfect and making it look easy, because they all have it down pat. They have all rehearsed. They have covered up their bruises. You will not see them sweat. You will just see their excellence. I also love how this showgirl is not a solo act, like she is part of a group routine. I waited by the stage door, packed in with the autograph hounds, barking her name, then glowing like the end of a cigarette. Wow, she came out. The wordplay here is just so good. Autograph hounds, aka people that are just hounding you for your autograph, who did not come and see the show, do not care about you, and will be selling that online so that they can make money off of you, likely while real young fans get pushed to the back. But then there is this double meaning of hounds, a hound being a dog, and then they are barking at you, and also they're in a pack, like packed in. So all of these references to dogs are in direct comparison. They are the antithesis of our star, Kitty. she represents a cat. I also think glowing like the end of a cigarette is so brilliant, and I think maybe even overlooked. The end of a cigarette is what? It is flaming hot, shining bright, but scorching quickly until it is completely burnt out. Then it is either tossed away or stomped into the ground and replaced with a fresh one. Also thinking about how a cigarette is just waiting around to be used. Like a showgirl, it serves its purpose. It is lit up and shining bright whilst being consumed and inhaled by others, as someone is literally sucking the air out of it. If it weren't obvious, I've never smoked a cigarette, so I hope these analogies are correct. Also, if you didn't know, by the way, stage door is where after a performance you can come and meet some of the cast that were involved. So for example, on Broadway, that is where you'll see people go and get their playbills signed. Now there is an alternative exit. So if someone is sick or they just don't have the time or don't want to meet fans and be hounded, they can leave another way and be hidden. So that wow is such a big deal because she actually came out, like she wanted to come and meet us. It's such an honor. Now our entire chorus is in quotation marks. So this is the dialogue that was said from Kitty to Taylor. We lead in with Taylor saying, "Then she said to me," Kitty's lines are, "Hey, thank you for the lovely bouquet. You're sweeter than a peach, but you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never ever gonna." So once again, we have the use of the word lovely, which in Actually Romantic and Honey has not really been the most sincere term of endearment. And sweeter than a peach, I might need someone who is from the South to let me know if this is usually used in a genuine manner or if it is like condescending, but a peach is something that bruises easily.
I bruise like a peach.
So Kitty thinks, I don't think she has what it takes to make it in this industry because it's a harsh world.
It's a harsh world.
She's judging this young fan and saying, you are simply too sweet, too small, too meek to make it in this industry. You don't know the life of a showgirl and you're never ever gonna. And she says, wait, and I kind of picture this to mean the fan, quite disappointed, has started to walk away. Kitty realizes she's being a little bit harsh and says, wait, and then explains herself a little bit more. You're softer than a kitten, so you don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never gonna wanna. So this time she's saying, actually, take it from me. You are so soft and sweet and this life will harden you. Trust me, you don't want this.
She inspires you, and then when you meet her, she warns you against doing it, which I think is something that may have happened to anyone who said that they wanted to go into music, you know? People who are in it will tell you how hard it is, and how chaotic it can be, and just how cutthroat. But if you love it enough, you'll do it anyway, and you'll take what comes with it.
Here, I feel like it turns from maybe judgmental and blasé to like genuine concern and advice. She's kind of saying, look at me, I'm a cautionary tale. Anyone who is in show business, whether acting, singing, or otherwise, will say to you, if you can do literally any other career than this, pick that, because this industry will chew you up and spit you out. It is not for the faint of heart. Okay, now this second verse is where things get a little bit complicated because obviously this is where Sabrina comes in. The tense is she was a menace. So I had a conversation with some friends and realized people had different opinions on who that she was and also who was singing this part. So I asked you guys in the Patreon group chat, do you view verse 2 as being sung by Kitty, by Taylor's character, or by Sabrina, a third character? And part 2 is, who is it being sung about? So side note, by the way, I really enjoyed that discussion in the Patreon group chat because everyone had a different opinion of this song, and I loved seeing people say, I thought this song was so straightforward and now I'm rethinking everything I thought I knew, which is kind of a sign of great art, right? That we can come to each other with different ideas and maybe question what we thought. I think my personal perspective here is that Sabrina is continuing on the story of Kitty that Taylor introduced us to. Now we're hearing about Kitty's upbringing. So she was a menace, the baby of the family in Lennox. Her father whored around like all men did. Her mother took pills and played tennis. And moment just to appreciate that country twang guitar. That's everything to me. So for anyone who doesn't know, Lennox is a beautiful town in the Berkshires in Massachusetts. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It's just so unlikely that myself as an Australian have ever heard of Lennox. At the summer camp I worked at in Connecticut, we played against Lennox. So I was always peripherally aware of where they were and what sort of culture that was. Like, I'm trying to figure out a nice way to say they were our sworn enemies. That was such an unnecessary tangent, but I just felt so excited to see a reference that I understood a little bit. But the Berkshires are a very beautiful, I think quite wealthy area to be in, and to me it just has this like beautiful East Coast old money energy, which I think is very well captured in this verse. The reason I think we are hearing her backstory and her upbringing here is to kind of show you this is the kind of family life she came from. It's no wonder she wanted to get out. You know, her mother took pills and played tennis. I think of Carmen's step family in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but also kind of just any uber white waspy family where the dad is cheating, the mum knows about it, she She's medicated, she's unhappy, but won't leave him, and is kind of overall dysfunctional.
Our family doesn't handle imperfection very well.
I sent you white suburban mom level prescription pills. They might have you mood swinging. No patience and no filter.
For the children in that instance, obviously this is quite a complicated situation to grow up in, and therefore if you are not receiving that kind of love and care and compassion at home, of course it makes sense that you might be drawn to the spotlight where that is freely given, well, until it's not. And then I just love hearing Sabrina sing, "I'd sell my soul for a taste of magnificent life that's all mine." So then in this next pre-chorus, the tense or perspective that is being used is still she. So she waited by the stage door as the club promoter arrived. We're hearing the same story from the previous pre-chorus. Rather than this being Sabrina's experience, like the new young showgirl, to me we've gone way back in time and proven the showgirls you love and looked up to someone else before that. So Kitty waited by the stage door. She said, "I'd sell my soul to have a taste of that magnificent life that's all mine."
I've just never seen anything like this before, and I need a job and I want to work here. Anybody ever give you a shot in life, please? I want this so bad.
But that's not what showgirls get. They leave us for dead. Again, just like Clara Bow, we are seeing 3 generations of showgirls, just not in the way that people expected. It's not Kitty with Taylor and then Sabrina. To me, it is Taylor and Sabrina as these young characters in the story, looking up to Kitty, who looked up to those that came before her too. So just like Taylor's character in verse 1, Kitty also was seeking advice, wanting to have this lifestyle, and she was also told, don't do it.
Don't do it.
But she chased that fame anyway. This pre-chorus doesn't say, "Then she said to me," it just jumps straight into, "Hey, thank you for the lovely bouquet," because this is what Kitty was told. And then for the bridge, we jump back to the perspective of our current young showgirls, Taylor and Sabrina's characters, now walking us through what they did with that information. "I took her pearls of wisdom, hung them from my neck." What a great play on words. As you know, pearls of wisdom are like a gem of advice. She's saying, I hung them from my neck. Like I took that on, I made that a part of me. Yet I continued on anyway. I paid my dues with every bruise. I knew what to expect. She knew because of that previous showgirl that warned her.
When I tell them the way I feel, it's like they hear me, but they're really not listening. There's no excitement. There's no passion.
You're guarded, you know? You have to be that way. Otherwise, you get taken advantage of and get in situations like I did the past year.
Do you want to take a skate on the ice inside my veins? This is something that athletes say to be kind of like, look how hardcore I am. Like, you can't fuck with me, basically. But here it also feels like a commentary on how the industry hardens you over time. Like, look how ice cold I am. Like on Tortured Poets, like, I am what you made me. They ripped me off like false lashes. Ripped you off like I felt cheated, you know? I was promised this amazing lifestyle for everything that I gave. I don't know if that payoff was worth it. But then literal false lashes that are used by showgirls, they are glamorous and beautiful, but they are also disposable. After they get their shiny time on stage, they are discarded. And all the headshots on the wall of the dance hall are of the bitches who wish I'd hurry up and die. So let me know if you view this as like a Hall of Fame type thing. Personally, I see it as the up and coming showgirls whose headshots are being shown. So I guess why would they be on the wall if they're newbies, you know? But obviously this is something that very much rings true for Taylor. Like everyone in the industry that views themselves as competing against Taylor rather than those who are, you know, her friends. So like Gracie, Sabrina, the people she kind of takes under her wing are sort of just waiting for the day that she stops trying. Obviously, we also see haters or general public demanding this of her.
I think there are certain corners of our society that really love that and look up to longevity. There are also corners that are like, give someone else a turn. Can't you just go away so we can talk about how good you were?
No one says, oh, I wish Usain Bolt would have ran a bit slower in this race to give someone else a try. Or maybe sit out this next one. That kind of argument is solely reserved for Taylor and women that are good at their job in this industry. So hearing her say, but I'm immortal now, baby dolls, I couldn't if I tried, to see her acknowledge her legacy, her impact on this music industry, but also just how her work will be remembered forever, even after she's gone. She is permanently cemented in this world now. And to sing that on the same song where she's acknowledging previous showgirls, the women that paved the way for her, and also here like uplifting, supporting, bringing along with her a showgirl from the next generation. It's so beautiful to me. I even think back to Midnight Rain when she sang about a relationship from when she was quite young. He wanted a bride, I was making my own name, chasing that fame, and now she has it.
Do you think you're gonna become a star, and do you care if you do?
You know what? It would be really cool.
I would go to school here, and then a lot of the time I'd be in my classrooms, in class, writing ideas on the sides of my notes, and then my mom would drive me downtown to have my songwriting appointments. So basically just the OG Hannah Montana over here. Double life.
She sought out that showgirl life and now she's married to the hustle. I feel like pain hidden by the lipstick and lace is I can do it with a broken heart summarized in one line. I also feel like that is kind of the messaging or the theme that people were hoping this entire album would be, which I understand. Like, I think that is a very glamorous and enticing subject, sort of the idea of this glamorous, shiny woman, but how much she's sacrificed and how much pain she's hiding behind the scenes. I get it, I respect it. But at the end of the day, I really do think that if this entire album was Taylor saying, here's how much I was actually suffering and here's how much I was hiding from you guys, people would say, A, that was the Tortured Poets department, and B, well, you're a billionaire, so shut up. Like, stop complaining, you're too privileged. So I think the way she summarized it here, just with that one line, pain hidden by lipstick and lace. Lipstick to me is emblematic of like painting on a smile, painting on your fresh face, you know, kind of covering up any pain behind the scenes.
When you are putting on your makeup, it's like you're an artist, but instead of painting on a canvas, painting your face.
And then obviously the lace, that takes care of the rest of the body. And I honestly feel like sequins are forever could be a tagline for the Life of a Showgirl tour if she wanted to do one. Obviously the classic phrase is diamonds are forever, but here she's putting a showgirl twist on it. And ultimately it really just feels like a celebration of girlhood. Like, besides beads, sequins and glitter were just everything for the Eras tour and kind of all of her concerts. And then this one ends off with, and now I know the life of a showgirl, babe, wouldn't have it any other way. Despite the pain, despite the sacrifices, despite feeling ripped off, it is still the path she would choose no matter what, and same for Sabrina. And then here in this outro, the "Hey Kitty" that Taylor says is also what confused a lot of people, because that makes us ponder, well, is Kitty here on the song? Is Sabrina singing Kitty's part because she then responds to it? But personally, I view it almost more of a wink and a smile to Kitty and all that Kitty represents, and just being like, well, I ended up doing it anyway and I made it. And I think ultimately Kitty and all those showgirls who came before her would ultimately be proud because they couldn't choose any other life either. Again, the little country twang on this song just means everything to me, knowing the context of the fact that Taylor's entire showgirl career started as this little country artist. Yesterday I was grocery shopping and listening to this song, and before I got to the cashier I had to like stop and turn this off and collect myself because this outro just makes me sob every time. I know I always say it reminds me of the end of High School Musical 3, but it just feels so cinematic and it really does capture the feeling of something ending. Obviously it represents the Eras tour in this closing part, but I just feel like there is love and respect and admiration and also sacrifice woven throughout that part of the song, and you can just feel it, not only by Taylor and Sabrina's characters or their vocals, but also the band, the dancers, as Taylor is thanking them. It is all of the people that come together to make this showgirl seem effortless and flawless. Give it up for the band! And the dancers! I just adore this song so much. It makes me feel so appreciative for everyone in that industry that comes together to put on a show, make it seem effortless, and just give 110% of themselves, even on the days that it's hard. And obviously on a smaller scale, that is something that all of us do in our day-to-day lives. Going to work, meeting with friends, putting on a show in some ways when you don't feel 100%. Just times that by 100 and you will understand the life of a showgirl. I cannot believe we have now talked about every single song on this album. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, firstly, thank you so much and congratulations, because your attention span is fine. But also, I am so glad that I was able to edit and upload this, because I have been filming this every single day for a week straight, and the file size is so unhinged. It is double the size of anything I've ever edited before. I'm nervous that my computer won't be able to handle this. So great news if you are seeing this. If you feel like you learned anything today, please give the video a like and share it with someone that you think might enjoy it. Most of all, I am so excited to hear your thoughts and perspectives in the comments below. Obviously, we all meet songs and music with completely different backgrounds and perspectives, and we all have something to learn from one another. You guys are incredibly smart, so I can't wait to hear your thoughts below. And I think that's it. I'll leave the Patreon down below if you would like to be included in the group chat or see all of the bonus content from me.
Oh my gosh, if you've made it to this point, you have officially unlocked my secret little end of video surprise message. Basically, I just wanted to pop in here as I finished editing to say thank you again so much for your patience on me making this video. Truly, my little MacBook Air has struggled so much, but I'm proud of her. We did it, Joe. I really hope it was worth it. I really hope you guys like this video, and I mean enjoyed it, not like give it a like. I really did have so much fun researching everything for this video and putting this together, and I just feel so lucky that I get to have a community who also cares about this kind of stuff and will have such insightful comments that will just blow my mind to read. So once again, thank you all for your patience. Also, if you made it all the way to this point, leave a candle emoji in the comments so I know. Thank you all for being here. I love you all so much. And I genuinely mean that. I really, really do.
Besides that, I love you all and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Is this what it feels like?